Right, sorry, got distracted. Yes, so, we're almost through all of the moments for Baxter, and once we finish today's moments, then next week we will start the, epilogue. Though, I think there was something that was being released the beginning of July. Let me double check. Because I think if that's the case, then I'll probably end up live streaming that next Sunday, and then picking up the Baxter DLC. Just have to double check. Last Wednesday, I played the demo for Penny Larceny Gig Economy Supervillain, and basically it's literally be gay do crimes. And it's kind of the premise, but obviously there's much more to it than that, but that's a quick and dirty explanation. Yeah. Right. So, Andromeda 6, the next episode will be released on July 1st, so I will probably live stream that either Saturday or Sunday, and then pick up with the Baxter epilogue after that. I'm still planning on live streaming Mass Effect this coming Wednesday. Excuse me. That doesn't bode well. It's just last week the demo for Penny Larceny was released, and I really wanted to do that. So this Wednesday will be Mass Effect, provided nothing happens to change that. And I know I said I wouldn't be streaming today, but I was going to visit a friend, but we had to cancel those plans. So anyway, right. So last week, we did the mountain DLC, and basically Baxter invited us to go up to the mountains with him. And we had a nice little make-out session that evening, but Baxter kind of pulled away and refused to take things further than the making out, because he's a gentleman. Sometimes we wish he wasn't. But had a nice, lovely hike together, and he actually wore a khaki shirt. How dare! But he said that he grabbed it by accident from his roommate, but he was packing first thing in the morning, and he is not very good at mornings, as we discovered during the drinks DLC. So that's excusable. So, let's get started with planning whatever this is. You cozily laid across your bed, lightly dozing in the morning sun. Like a cat. You heard birds singing outside your window and the occasional rush of the wind, but what you were really listening for was your phone. Any minute now. It was a little while later when your ringtone cut through the silent bubble of your daydreams. Hi, Karinika! Gosh, I haven't seen you before. At least not here. You eagerly sat up and plucked the phone off the blanket by your side. Hey! A forced, deep voice on the other end answered you with an almost threatening edge to their tone.
Hey!
Jules, do you know who this is? I am on my way to your house. You better be prepared. This situation normally would have been worrying if you hadn't been expecting to hear from your goofiest friend Terry, or if caller ID hadn't been invented yet. Yeah, it's hard to prank call someone when caller ID tells you who it is. The two of you had important matters to discuss. That's why she was coming over today. How are you doing, Karinika? Am I pronouncing it right? I joke about Jake getting it wrong, and now I'm worried I'm getting it wrong. Let's play along. What's the fun in ruining her fun? I do, and I'm ready for your arrival. Good, very good. Now, this is a crucial matter of security. Is there anyone else in the room right now who might overhear this conversation? We are too close to the finish line to get our cover blown now. Glancing side to side, you observed your surroundings. Awesome! I'm glad I got it right. Because I was just remembering how Jake kept mispronouncing it. I was like, am I mispronouncing it the way he did, or am I doing it right? Glancing side to side, you observed your surroundings and cupped a hand close to the side of your mouth for added secrecy. No, I'm alone. Our mission is still intact. I knew I could count on my trusty cohort. You can trust me with anything. That I can. Just to be certain, you went to your bedroom door and poked your head out. You couldn't hear a peep from anywhere, so you popped back onto your bed. Yep, I can verify that we're all clear. Anyone that's trying to learn our secrets has failed in their mission.
Very nifty.
Excellent. All according to plan. It wasn't hard to understand why Terry was so invested. Tomorrow was Miranda's 19th birthday, and the entire occasion needed to be perfect. Usually, the Eckarts hosted a party for their kids, but this year was different. Miranda had no clue that you, Terry, and Co. were putting the whole shebang together. The pressure was getting intense. There was less than 24 hours before showtime. Miranda's friends and family were counting on the three of you. Terry dropped her game completely and got to the point. Are your moms going to let you borrow their car? I don't know.
Oh.
Oof, that's not good. The strain in Terry's voice wiped her smile away. This wasn't originally a problem. Cobb was supposed to be the driver, but his request for time off work only allowed tomorrow for the actual birthday. So you could rely on him to help decorate, but you and Terry were on your own today. You've got to figure out how to get to an actual party supply store. Yeah. I know someone who has a car. Since we've reached the first crisis point. That was fast. Can't we use the supplies our parents already have? Could we make the decorations ourselves? We really shouldn't have put this off until the last minute. Yeah, we had no choice. This was the easiest way to make sure Randy never caught on. She can't discover that we're orchestrating it if there's nothing for her to find at all. I stand by that. And besides, I'm thinking way bigger than a bag of streamers we can easily stuff away in a closet. I want to find something new, something fresh and cool. But what? Terry, I'm not sure what you're even envisioning. What's fresh and cool? Ah, I know. Her party should have a theme. We can make all the food and decorations match. It'll look nice. What kind of theme? I'm still working that detail out. Of course you are. That's fine. We have a little wiggle room left on the clock.
Yeah.
Exactly. Now that we have a direction, we'll put our noggins together and figure out the perfect theme. And then we need to get all that stuff for it and put it together in the party room. Your mouth pressed into a hard line. Having a theme wasn't exactly progress. It was just another thing you need to get done on top of everything else. Yeah, I think, obviously since Encanto came out, there's been a lot of theme parties featuring characters from Encanto. And apparently, Luisa has been more popular than Isabella. Can't imagine why. Luisa was always taking care of Mirabelle and looking out for her, and Isabella was just pushing her aside and insulting her. I mean, Isabella had good reasons for it, but still. I don't know if I can see who's watching. I mean, I don't think it tells me who's watching. It just says how many are here. Get that train of thought to yourself and chuckle. This event was going to be a Herculean feat, but you had your faith in your friends. Have faith in your friends. There we go. And together you'll find a way to make it all work somehow.
So?
Oh, and don't forget there's that small problem of how we're even getting to the store. That's non-negotiable. We have to go today. This needs to be huge. Miranda's parties used to be big. She always had the best birthday, at least before. Yep, I remember when we went to one with Cove. That was step 2. Yeah, they had a bounce house for freak's sake. Yeah. There was no way you could forget Miranda's birthday bashes throughout the years. They were a highlight of your summers. Though you had no idea that Terry had been attending them for just as long. You never knew who she was until high school, and it's strange to think that you were so close to meeting so much earlier, and now you were all buddies. Unfortunately, the past couple of years, things have been too difficult for an event on that scale. Everyone was older and 10 times busier during the summer. Terry groaned, understandably getting worked up over that struggle. Miranda doesn't even want any presents. All she asked for was her friends and family to get together. I mean, if everybody's been getting busier, that makes sense. She just wants to spend time with them. We already had the perfect party room booked. That was supposed to be the hardest part. Everyone from Miranda's parents to you and your friends pulled your money together to rent out an actual event space instead of having it at her house or a public park. For a while now, Miranda had been insisting that she didn't need anything, but none of you could pass up an opportunity to show her how much you all appreciated her. It isn't even because she used to have big parties, you know. Even if that never happened before, this has to be as good as it can be. Terry's mumbling grew increasingly more upset. She didn't hide any ounce of her worry. What if this is the last time we celebrate it together? Oh, Terry, you're being a bit of a drama queen? Yeah, drama queen. The shiver crept down your spine. Terry's fear wasn't unfounded. Who knew what any of your lives would look like a year from now? Terry sniffled, her voice cracking with emotion. You couldn't do anything other than helplessly wait at the other end of the call. I mean, knowing what happens with Terry and Miranda, I'm not surprised that this is more, worrisome for Terry. We need this to be our final big hurrah, just in case it is. Yeah, let's go with this. That thought hadn't crossed your mind until she said it. You understood that sometimes people would come and go in life, but you honestly couldn't imagine a future where you, Terry, Miranda, and Cove wouldn't be hanging out together. Well, Terry sniffled, then her tone quickly regained her usual fire.
I'm on it.
My dad's about to drive me over, so I have the whole car ready to think about our dilemma. You put your brain to work too, and we'll have this solved. No sweat. Actually, I already have a solution for that. His name is Baxter. Yes! That's exactly what I've been thinking. Ah, that's right. I can't believe I didn't remember he has a car.
Woo!
You're a genius, Jules. Thank you very much. But do you think he would actually give us a lift? Pretty sure he'd do it in a heartbeat. For us? More like for you. Even though you couldn't see Terry, you could easily imagine the way she was nodding over this new possibility.
See you later.
That is the way. Alright, I gotta go. See you soon. The fate of Randy's birthday is up to you, me, and now our remaining hope, the Bee-Man. Bye. You hung up the phone and left it face down on his blanket. You flopped across the bed as your thoughts wandered. Whether it was great or terrible, there may never be another chance to celebrate with Miranda, Cove, and Terry by your side. You'd have to make the most of it. While you waited, you opened a half-dozen tabs online on your phone and scrolled through various images of party decorations. You kept perusing until a text notification popped up. I'm here. The doorbell rang as your feet hit the floor. You hurried downstairs and opened the front door. I mean, what's the point of suggesting Baxter and then you don't even contact him to ask him ahead of time?
Hi.
Hey buddy, the party committee meeting is officially in session. Sliding aside, you gestured for Terry to come on in. She strolled inside and went towards the living room. Then Terry pivoted on her heel and folded her arms. All business. So, I haven't messaged Baxter about all this. We should ask him in person instead of a wall of text. It'd be super rude to hit up someone you barely know to do you a big favor, you know? It's gotta be face to face that we beg for help. I suppose, but it seems weird that you didn't even let him know. Fingers crossed he's home. We owe it to ourselves and Randy's birthday to try it. Exactly. We didn't even know if he was home or not. We should at least check. Should have at least done that. Instead of just waiting. Yeah, and if he's not there, we can still try something else. This is a start.
Okay.
There's no better time than the present. Let's go. Terry nodded towards the door she just came in through, and you both promptly left the house. Together you made a beeline for Baxter's condo and rang the doorbell. Terry gave the front door a knock for good measure. She wasn't taking a single risk that you might miss him by accident. As she declared, Terry crossed her fingers on both hands. I can actually cross all my fingers on both hands, so I got 4 crusts. The door opened a crack. Baxter curiously peeked out and then swung it open the rest of the way. He smirked. Well, isn't this a familiar sight? Just like when he first arrived. Last time the pair of you came, it was for my number. I wonder what today's mission could be.
Yeah.
You're here! Terry loosened her bent fingers and threw her hands victoriously into the air. Amused, Baxter rubbed the back of his neck. I didn't realize I was missing, but yes, I'm here. I was simply getting ready to go out for the day. Turned your head away and tried to hide your smile. Of course, it was only now that he was making a move to go anywhere. It had to be at least noon before he'd do anything out of the house. Yep. Though, even if I wasn't home, you're welcome to call me. It's not my intent to be difficult to reach. This is true. Thanks, but we wouldn't want to interrupt you if you were busy. Perish the thought. It wouldn't be an interruption. It'd be an improvement. Of course. You know I'd be thrilled to see you anytime. Baxter's words were meant for Terry too, but his gaze was set only on you. Ah! Terry's grin widened as her eyes crinkled. You knew her well enough to tell that she was psyching herself up. Her hand settled on her hips. Can you give us a ride someplace?
It's doable.
Easily. He answered without missing a beat. Terry whooped, and Baxter brightened, pleased by her enthusiasm. May I ask where we are going? Baxter, my good friend, we're going to the craft and party supply store. A party store? What's the occasion? The way he perked up with genuine wonder, you could have sworn that his dark eyes were sparkling. Terry pressed a finger to her lips and winked. Shh, you can't tell anyone, but we're going to give Miranda the best birthday of her young life. Oh, that sweetheart is having her birthday soon? Congratulations.
Yeah.
On behalf of Randy, I thank you, and on behalf of me, I thank you again for providing the transportation. We would have been stranded without you. Baxter graciously bowed his head. He picked up on the urgency and importance of what your team was asking. Now that I know what it's for, there's no way I could ever refuse. I'm honored to help.
So?
How are the preparations going? A tiny nervous laugh bubbled up in Terry's throat. She glanced at you, scratching the side of her cheek. Well, we got a room booked at a place big enough to hold the party. It's a grand private event like she's never had before.
Glad to hear it.
That's great to hear. Yeah, we just need all the food and the party stuff to go in it. I take it that you don't have caterers or decorators arranged then? We are the caterers and decorators, me and Jules mostly, since Cope couldn't come along today. Ah, I see. Baxter idly tapped his finger against his chin. His brow pinched pensively.
Certainly.
This can be done, so there's no reason to worry, but when is the event?
Uh-huh.
Tomorrow. Terry's simple, upbeat answer tore a gasp from Baxter. Bewildered, he slid a step backwards and grasped the fabric across his chest. I love this. This was easily the most dramatic reaction you'd ever witnessed from him. There was nothing you could do to stop the snort and laugh that followed. Covering your mouth, you tried twisting away from your friends, but the battle was lost. His reaction was too funny. He was too aghast to even notice. Tomorrow. It's tomorrow, and you only have a venue and 2 people? Nothing else? And it's going to be a grand affair? Baxter's mouth snapped shut following that outburst. Neither you nor Terry uttered a single word in response. The 2 of you shared a quick glance. Baxter took a deep, steadying breath through his nose. He slowly smoothed out the wrinkles in his shirt and exhaled. It's fitting that he has this dramatic a reaction to preparing for a party on such short notice. I love it. It says something about him, doesn't it? Once he was better composed, Baxter regained his usual confident air. He attempted to lightly chuckle, but he still caught the strain in his tone. You may have more problems than the lack of a vehicle, I'm afraid. Terry fidgeted her fingers out of embarrassment, but she stood strong and explained the situation to Baxter. She repeated the thought process she walked you through before. I couldn't get the goods earlier, or Randy would have figured out what I was doing instantly. I couldn't risk it.
Sorry.
And even if I managed the impossible, she's always at my house. Not having anything to sniff out was the best way to keep everything a secret. I mean, could have kept the stuff at Jules' house, or Coast, or someone else's. Heck, even Baxter's if you'd thought to bring him in sooner. Crossing your arms, you could have hidden the decorations successfully at your house. Your teeth pinched the inside of your cheek just to keep that opinion inside. As long as we stay focused, it can happen. We just gotta buy the decorations today and make the snacks and then the desserts. Then we set it all up tomorrow before things kick off at noon. No problem. Right, I should have read that. I tried to tell Terry this was a bad idea. We shouldn't have waited this long. I'm sorry, I didn't know. Baxter checked at his collar and his mouth pressed into a careful, apologetic smile. Everyone was feeling bad. I understand you're facing a difficult situation, but keep your chin up. Things aren't cataclysmic yet, I suppose. Okay, forget it.
In that case...
Well, since I've attended a number of functions, I'd be delighted to offer advice and assistance. Today and tomorrow, I can definitely do more than simple carting you to the store. More than simply carting you to the store. I wonder, we do encounter Baxter in the Cove wedding DLC. So I wonder if this sort of thing is what helps Baxter decide on what he wants to do with his life. No way! You're hired! Terry cheered this upswing of good luck. Baxter's eyebrow arched quizzically, and then you could see his growing amusement stirring. Hired? Are you offering to pay me?
Nah.
But you can join our secret party planning team. That's priceless. I knew she wouldn't seriously pay him. It's just figure of speech, I suppose.
Very well.
I'll take it. His tone sounded even happier than his teasing ploy for money. There really was no payment that would have made it more worth the while. Baxter laughed and gestured towards the street. Let's discuss the details on the way. I imagine the store you have in mind isn't in town. Terry hopped towards the street and partially twisted her heel. She tilted her head and smirked. Nothing's in this little beach town. That's so true. We have a couple party stores in my city, but we don't really do much in the way of parties these days. And if we do get together, we don't really decorate for them. Most we do is make a cake or something. With his hands in his pockets, Baxter stepped ahead, passing you to join Terry on the road. He had a few words as he crossed your path. Oh, I would have to disagree with that. Your skin grew warmer from just that slight brush with Baxter. Yee. So smooth. My car is parked a short walk that way.
Oh, yeah.
Alright, team, here we go! I love Terry's enthusiasm. I really wish we could have romanced her. Baxter slipped inside the condo to grab his keys. You and Terry loitered in the empty street while he waited. We totally hit the jackpot. Did you see his face when he realized this was about a party? He probably has loads of ideas. I figured he'd be willing to help us figure this stuff out. Baxter didn't take long to return and lock up. You followed him to his car with a pep in your step, and Terry slapped her palm to the front passenger side door. Dibs on shotgun! Ooh. This is an interesting choice because, I mean, technically you're dating Baxter. So, shouldn't you get shotgun? But, you know, Terry is so enthusiastic. So, what I'm going to do is roll a dice. I have a d6. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 5. Happy to chill in the back seat. More legroom for me. Terry laughed and swung the door open. Baxter put his elbow on the roof of the car and leaned his cheek against the palm of his hand. Shaking your head, you got into the car. Terry glanced at Baxter across the small space between them and winked.
Uh-huh.
It'll be like you're chauffeuring Jules because they're a VIP. I mean, I don't have a problem with legroom whether I'm in the back or the front because I am short. So my legs are kind of long for my height. Fortunately, my height is very short.
Yes.
Ah, yes. And where can we drive you today, Mix Hunt? I never know how to pronounce the MX. Baxter buckled his seatbelt then immediately began searching for nearby craft and party supply stores via GPS. The wonders of technology. Did you have a particular store in mind? Oh, that one. She She pointed at the lower half of the screen, and Baxter wordlessly set her pick as a destination. With that settled, the rest of you got comfortable and buckled in for the ride. Of course, Terry knew where she wanted to go, it's just the problem is putting it off. Despite being the new guy in the area, Baxter confidently drove as if he'd been traveling these roads his whole life. Well, if he's been driving around and doing stuff, he could very well have gotten to know the area. Because when I visit my friend, when I was visiting my friend pretty regularly, I got pretty good at navigating where they live. But when I last visited them, it'd been a while, so I was a little unsure, but I found my way. I figured it out. He followed the directions laid out for him, but he also kept a part of himself focused on the task at hand. Baxter kept the conversation focused on how he could better help you and Terry with the party. Didn't hesitate to be a key member of this operation. Well, he said that he was willing to do more than simply play chauffeur. I was just thinking. Thanks, Baxter.
You're welcome.
I'm glad that I'm able to offer help. You and me both, buddy. Terry flung an arm around the headrest and twisted to look at you. She pointed at Baxter with her thumb.
Yeah.
We were doomed without our knight in a shining rental car. Baxter snorted and tightened his grip on the wheel. If he had anything to say about her compliment, he kept it to himself. So, do we have an idea of what we're looking for? It's gonna have a theme. The party can't just be a generic birthday bash. We're going for something here.
Excellent.
Having a specific design core makes it all the easier. Baxter answered with a pleased tone and peeked at the GPS. He turned the car at the intersection. And the theme is?
Nah.
We don't know. Of course! We only just decided that we were gonna have a theme. We haven't figured out what that theme is yet. Somehow his smile remained perfectly in place. Do you imagine that he fully expected the lack of preparation at this point? Yeah. Well, there are many concepts one can go with. For example, summertime in a classic style would be nautical. Or perhaps desert chic for California if we wanted to take our location into account. But there's so much more to California than desert. There's mountains, there's forests, not to mention urban areas like LA and San Francisco. Or, what about this? While summer is scorchingly outside, the guests are treated to a winter wonderland inside. That kind of unexpected, intentionally out-of-season aesthetic can be quite fun. Exhaling deeply, Terry leaned the side of her head against a glass and stared out the window, mulling over Baxter's suggestions. She sank her front teeth into her bottom lip. If none of those suffice, we can continue brainstorming. I don't know if any of those are right for Miranda. She doesn't care about what's trendy or seasonal or what might impress her guests.
Understandable.
That's a good point. This isn't some party. It's Miranda's party. Exactly. Unfortunately, I only met the woman this whole affair is for once. There's not much I can glean from that. I apologize. Was it just the one time? Yeah. That put him at quite a disadvantage despite his sincere intent to help. Frowning, you felt somewhat similar. Nobody knew Miranda better than Terry, and that meant she should have the final say on these big decisions. Would you rather I stop proposing ideas? I'm sure whatever you think she'll enjoy most will be wonderful. There we go. I can talk, really. I'm then I'm speaking it, and that's confusing me. No, I need so much help. I don't even know what party themes are. How am I gonna pick one? Okay, then should I keep throwing out ideas until something sounds good to your ears?
Yeah.
Please, that's gotta be a theme that's perfect for her. I'll know it when I hear it. Hi, Akigor, there you are. Very well. You could practically hear the gears moving in Baxter's brain. His expression scrunched up, and it was clear that he was silently compiling a list. I mean, if it were Derek, we could think in terms of sports. Oh wait, what can you tell me about the venue? The colors, the size, the style? We can use that as a base to work off of. It would be pointless to fall in love with a concept and then realize it would clash with the room.
Sure.
Smart! I found the perfect place. It's pretty big. Imagine a space that's larger than the average living room. It's like 3 living rooms. She's got lots of family and plenty of friends coming, so we need it. There's also a lit-up dance floor in the center, too.
Oh?
A dance floor? His eyes sparked with excitement. You imagine the dance floor would be just as bright tomorrow. Yes, you did. You did know it, Kronika. Will the event have any slow dancing? Who slow dances at a birthday party? It's not a prom. Baxter's shoulders slumped in response, while Terry's surprised laugh morphed into a small coughing fit. He sighed deeply. That's true. If only someone was getting married instead. There's always formal dancing at weddings. It's a shame that the only appropriate time to dance with a partner, besides at practice and competitions and the odd jaunt through some sprinklers, happens to be a very uncommon event. I mean, you could have slow dancing at a birthday party if the person it's for likes to slow dance. But of course, this is outside of having your own actual partner who you can go dancing with whenever you'd like. Your head tilted. Was that a hint? The two of you were dating. Did he want to go dancing with you? Or maybe there wasn't any intent behind his general statement. Next time it's a wedding, you're the first person I call it. I have to pick it. Baxter laughed earnestly. His attention flickered up to the mirror for a moment. You're so considerate, Jules. Please, I'm counting on you to do that when the situation arises. I will, because then I can dance with you. Baxter grew quiet. You leaned forward in your seat and caught a hint of his brow rising in the mirror reflection.
Exciting.
You doubly flatter me. I'd be honored. But Baxter shook his head, ridding himself of his indulgent thoughts. His attention flickered to the map. Regardless, it wouldn't matter either way in this case. I apologize for getting us off track. How else would you describe the venue?
Very nifty.
It's shiny and pretty and pink. That does give a strong picture of what the presentation could be. It's limiting, but in a helpful way. How so?
I see.
Most obvious direction to make the entire thing simply pink. Terry snorted and tried to suppress her giggles, but she was instantly unsuccessful. Randy does like that color, but she doesn't feel the same way about it as you do with black and white. That's fair. Now it's Baxter's turn to chuckle. That's fair. So, moving on, we have pretty and sparkly. What else? Is Miranda a fan of glitz and glamour?
Nope.
Well, basically, no. Terry's brow furrowed and she slowly deflated in her seat. Randy wouldn't like trying to be glamorous. It's not how she is, and she wouldn't know how to act if that's what the theme was. If that's so, then what about a faux high life theme? And what would that be? He sat forward, wondering what either of those two words were supposed to mean in terms of decorating a party. Let me think of the best way to articulate the premise. Imagine plastic champagne glasses filled with sparkling cider, and dainty desserts coated in shimmery dust, so they shine. A chocolate fountain with fresh strawberries to dip and colored lights, perhaps even feather boas for the guests to wear. The idea is that nothing's truly extravagant. It's tongue-in-cheek, with all the celebratory fun of acting like a star on your special day. Not being that kind of person would be part of the point. Cute and silly, basically. Terry sprung up in her seat, vibrating with excitement. She turned to you, but she was still rendered speechless from Baxter's proposition.
What do you think?
Did I strike a chord? Ah, that would be so fun! Randy loves to let loose and not be so serious, but she's definitely a star. Sounds as though we have a theme then.
Fine.
Yeah, it's all gonna come together now. Are you sure? Sure, unsure.
That's wonderful.
And we accomplished it without having to leave the car. Thank you so much for helping us figure this out. You're quite welcome. I'm glad I could offer something useful. Hey, being the driver was enough for us, but you exceeded expectations. The rest of the drive kept the secret party planning ball rolling, and the three of you took turns proposing suggestions for what you need to track down at the store. I sure hope someone's taking notes. This is a new location. Haven't seen this before. I'm not sure if these are supposed to be shelf paper or something else. Obviously yarn. These look like little notepads, notebooks, glue. What the heck is that supposed to be? Maybe those are remnants? Scissors. Tape. Fabric. Obviously, tools. All kinds of stuff. I don't think I've seen a store that quite combines all of this. Usually I see like Lowe's or Home Depot and then Joann or Michael's. When you arrived, the three of you entered the store fully focused on the mission. They felt underprepared, standing at the entrance and scanning the cluttered store in front of you. Shelves were piled with miscellaneous goods, and there was a strong smell wafting in the air. It was like a mix of paint and a scented something. Maybe a pine cone? Curling your fingers into fists, you steeled yourself for the task. It was going to be way too easy to get lost with the endless sea of bits and bobs calling out to you. Yep, have to stay focused. Have to stay focused. Focus, focus, focus. The secret party planning team couldn't fail now.
Woo!
Come on, there's no time to waste. I love Terry's enthusiasm. Terry took the lead, claiming a shopping cart and picking a direction. She pushed on ahead while you followed at Baxter's pace. Right? Craft stores are so cool. Sometimes my mom does sewing a lot, and sometimes she needs to go get stuff and she'll invite me to come along, and I'll tell her no because I don't need the temptation to buy stuff for myself. Like the last time I went with Mom, we ended up buying a bunch of little things of fabric, and my mom's still trying to figure out what to do with it. It wasn't long before Terry was combing through the piles of knickknacks. Her fiery determination to make this birthday the best it could be was admirable. You were proud to be a part of her grand plan. The group traveled down several aisles, picking up a variety of supplies that had been decided on during the drive. The right-shaped cups, plastic forks and spoons that resembled proper silverware, and the rest of the basics. You picked out some shiny tablecloths to replace the old checkered ones, and Terry found a few platters to serve the desserts on. Next on the agenda was to locate what you'd need to prepare the desserts, but before any of you could do that, Terry stopped in her tracks and pointed. Oh, look! Craning your head, you scanned the area until you landed on what she was seeing. There in the distance were dozens of feather bows hanging over a row of long hooks. They were fluffy and came in several bright, saturated colors. Grinning wide, Terry raced to the display and flung a ton of them into the cart. It was anyone's guess how many would be needed for tomorrow, and since they were only a couple dollars each, Terry was sticking with the old tried and true method of better safe than sorry. Yeah, sometimes you just need to get a bunch. Eventually her looting uncovered a single pure white boa. You instantly knew that you needed that boa. It was perfect for Baxter. You grabbed it, mindful not to crush the delicate feathers. They were soft against your skin while you examined them for any hidden splotches of color. Luckily, the feathers were immaculate, so you added the boa to the growing pile in the cart. It soon became lost in the sea of rainbow. Once Terry was satisfied, she stared at the cart. Everything that you selected before was buried under a pile of boas, and there was a lot more shopping to do. Maybe we should get a second cart. When we were younger, and we had to shop for the whole family instead of just part of the family, we would regularly need 2 carts to get everything. And even now, once we check out, we need 2 carts for everything. Get it all out to the car.
I can do that.
I couldn't agree more. You two can go to the cake decorating aisle and I'll meet you there.
Thanks.
Thanks, B-Man. I love her nickname for him, B-Man. It's such a Terry name. Baxter hurried to the end of the aisle and paused there, glancing back. Terry sent him off with a playful salute and he answered with a wave. Bye, we'll see you soon. After that, you and Terry ended up getting a bit turned around, but at long last you found the aisle with the cake decorating supplies. Terry drove the cart back and forth, anxiously scanning the selection. So, like, what desserts are we gonna have? There should be a cake, but that can't be all, right? What about cupcakes? Randy loves cupcakes. That's a really good idea. Miranda's gonna be over the moon. Yeah. Terry mumbled contemplatively to herself, leaning against the carriage. She nodded once, then again. I'll try it. No, I must do it. Hold on, when are you gonna have time to make 2 desserts? Tonight after all the shopping, or tomorrow when the entire room needs to be decorated? I can squeeze it in somewhere. We should split up the tasks. I'll make the cupcakes and you can make the cake, okay?
Really?
Thanks, buddy. don't have to do it all yourself, Terry. Terry dabbed an invisible tear from her eye and then placed a hand across her heart. No one could ask for a more loyal cohort. Of course, you don't need to do it all yourself. Terry's mouth bobbled and her eyes grew shiny.
Thank you.
So much! Alright, so I've been thinking about making a confetti cake with vanilla frosting. If you make chocolate cupcakes with cheesecake frosting and make them all look pretty too. I am all for chocolate because I love chocolate. I'm a chocoholic. But I'm not sure about the cheesecake frosting. To me it doesn't seem to go. But I get it. I got it. You added a thumbs up and Terry excitedly pumped her fist.
Oh yeah.
This is gonna be a great party. With renewed enthusiasm, Terry picked out a couple containers of gold and silver shimmer dust for the treats and a pack of edible tools and decorative stars. Terry reached up and snagged a big 19-shaped candle to go on top of the cake. Her arms were rapidly getting full, and then, just in time...
Hello.
There you are. I've been searching for you two. He wheeled the new card over, but it wasn't empty. Sitting comfortably inside was a box chocolate fountain, a pack of wooden skewers, and a big bag of melted chocolate wafers to be used with it. Ooh! Terry leaned into the cart and examined the advertised features printed on the box. Some of the package she was holding onto fell from her grasp and tumbled in with a clang. This is a good brand. It's not too loud. The music should cover the noise it does make, though.
Sure.
Works for me. Terry released the remaining things she was carrying into the carriage. They rained onto the unsuspecting fountain. Place what you had inside next. Baxter studied everything you picked out while he was gone.
You're good.
You have excellent taste. Those decorations are fantastic. Thanks. My cupcakes are going to be almost too nice to eat. A piece for the ice, then. Yeah, that's something. Whoops. Sorry about that. Finger hit the button. That's something that I picked up from watching the Great British Bake Off. I mean, yeah, I get it. The chocolate and cheese do go together really well. I'm just not a big fan of cheese myself. I mean, my favorite cheese is American cheese, which is you almost can't taste it. But cheddar is just too sharp, and I'm just not a big fan of cheese. A piece for the ice then. But yeah, watching the Great British Bake Off, you definitely come across that if something doesn't look appetizing, people aren't going to eat it. Yeah, we got this in the bag. As you passed through more parts of the store, the three of you grabbed a few other last-minute odds and ends. Somewhere along the way, Terry found a sash that said Birthday Girl. She eagerly snatched it up and threw it across a pile of feather boas. She pointed out some oversized sunglasses next. Blasphemy? There's just some people just don't like cheese. And I'm okay with it as part of other stuff. Like, I like having a grilled cheese sandwich, I like having pizza and stuff like that. I just don't like piling cheese on everything. I can't have a cheese pizza. I need to have something with the cheese to cut the taste for me. I don't like chocolate and coffee together either. I'm not a big fan of coffee. If I need caffeine, I'll have some soda. Thank you very much. Oh, good catch.
Very nice.
Those totally fit the vibe. Nodding, you tossed a handful into the cart. From there, your team circled the premises for a little while before deciding to check out and get your haul home. The register area you discovered wasn't built anything like the one at the supermarket. There wasn't a long conveyor belt to put stuff on, only a short counter space. With all the stuff that you got.
I apologize.
Sorry, this will be one moment. You flashed the cashier and apologized. Yes, more cheese for you. My sibling loved cheese, and my best friend loves cheese too. And in fact, when I would make scrambled eggs for my sibling, they'd want cheese, and I kept forgetting to put it on. They'd have to be in the kitchen with me to remind me. You flashed the cashier an apologetic smile, and you got to work piling up the dozens of party supplies from 2 full carts. Not one piece was particularly pricey, but with the amount of stuff you gathered, the total was skyrocketing. Yeah. Even with the contributions from friends and family as a combination gift, it was going to be a close call. Terry's lip twitched as she tried not to frown. The displayed price grew higher, and there's still a mountain of things on the counter. Baxter stared at Terry and his brow furrowed. He then reached over and plucked away the chocolate fountain box, the skewers, and the packet of chocolate.
No.
I want that. Don't worry about it. I'm going to buy this part myself. But it's not a necessary supply that you were anticipating you'd buy, and it was my bright idea on top of everything. I'll cover it. My treat. Or rather, my gift for Miranda's birthday. Oh, Baxter, you sweetheart. Can't say no to that. Thank you so much. He gave her a pleased nod and then went to the end of the line carrying the box under his arm. Baxter managed to get through the line, stop at a different register, and complete his purchase well before you and Terry were through. He waited awkwardly off to the side of the checkout area with his bag. After the poor cashier dug themselves out of a pile of sparkly and feathered goods, you got up to him with the 2 carts neatly packed with bags. As you were leaving, a voiceover announced that the store would be open for only another 30 minutes. Terry glanced at the overhead speaker in shock.
Oh.
Whoa, I knew we were here a while, but not that long. I've really been shopping that late. I don't like to do my shopping in the evening. I prefer to do it earlier in the day.
It's settled.
I'd say this was a successful trip. This was a massive success. Yeah, it was worth it. Your party planning committee exited the store and made your way through the parking lot. Together you had to fill the trunk and a part of the back seat. Yeah, when my family, we've had to buy a few cars over the years, and ever since watching Supernatural, part of the reason they picked the Impala was because it had a large trunk that they could fit a body in. So for a while there, we joked about how many bodies could fit in the trunk of the cars that we were looking at. We'll take the carts back. Yeah, we've got it. I'll stay put here then. Baxter leaned against the car door as he rolled away. The sky was dark and the night air felt invigorating after being in the stuffy, overly scented store. There was an added pep in your step now that you weren't weighed down by party supplies. Terry shot you a mischievous grin and then raced past you across the pavement. Let's do this. This is fun. Push the cart faster before jumping on the back and riding it. Leaning forward, you made sure to keep yourself balanced on the empty cart. Your smile grew, feeling a cool breeze against your skin. Then you returned to the car together. Baxter stood up and smoothed his shirt before opening his door. Welcome back. You squeezed into the car and let your eyes feast on the fruits of the afternoon's labors. Terry hopped into the front again. Terry fished her phone out and messaged her parents that she was ready for them to pick her up. She explained that if they left now, then her mom or dad would be at your house by the time the 3 of you returned. After that, you simply needed to enjoy a comfortably quiet ride to the neighborhood. All that shopping ended up being more exhausting than any of you anticipated. After a brief and uneventful drive through sleepy streets, you arrived home to find a van parked outside. As you approached, you recognized the shade of green paint and that characteristic dent in the rear fender. Terry leaned out the window and hollered cheerily. All right, you made it! Away from the driver's side window, it was Terry's parents come to pick her up as planned. This is great. We can take most of the stuff home in the van. Terry jerked her thumb towards the piles of party paraphernalia perched precariously in the back of the car. Did they mean to do that alliteration? All those P's?
Woo!
I figured it could stay there until tomorrow. My old folks said we could borrow the van to take everything to the party venue anyway. It's like we planned it or something. Baxter silently nodded, pulling up alongside Terry's parents.
Is that
Well,
fine?
since we're transferring the supplies from one vehicle to another, we may as well minimize the distance. Terry, would you mind? He gestured towards the rear of the van. Terry nodded and hopped out to let her mom know it was safe to pop the trunk. While you left your seat, Baxter opened up his own car, then gave Terry's mom and dad a friendly wave. Thus began the daunting task of unloading. Terry's parents noticed how much stuff you ended up bringing back, and soon they were also lending a hand. With all 5 of you, the seemingly endless stack of party goods was defeated in a few short minutes. I think that's the last of it. Many hands truly do make light work. You let out a sigh of relief, stretching your arms. They'd gotten sore from all the heavy lifting in spite of the help. Bow down before the awesome and terrible power of teamwork. Terry wasn't even remotely out of breath. She could do the whole thing over again without breaking a sweat. You counted yourself lucky she didn't threaten to do just that. Right? She's an endless bundle of energy. I love her enthusiasm. I know I've said it before, but she's such a great character. Her sense of humor could be wild sometimes. Baxter leaned against the closed rear door of the van, casually addressing Terry and her parents. Are you fine people headed home now? It's getting late. A trio of assenting noises followed.
Yeah.
We've got everything for tomorrow. Oh, hold on a sec. She marched over to where you stood and planted her feet on the sidewalk with intent. She stood to attention as though suddenly in the middle of a military parade. You could see she had an object clutched in her right hand that was difficult to make out in the dusk. She must have taken it out of one of the shopping bags from earlier. As soon as I get home, the next stage of our mission commences. Don't worry about me, though. It'll be... Here it comes. A piece of cake! Of course! Of course! She lifted one of her hands and dropped the held item into it. 3 shimmering cylinders of confectionery glitter. Of course, there's still work to be done tonight. Baking. Raring to go. He clutched the little plastic tubes of glitter tightly, giving Terry an enthusiastic mock salute. Aye aye, Captain. Good luck and see you tomorrow.
See you later.
I'll swing by to pick you guys up at 7 a.m. tomorrow, okay? Party starts at noon and we're gonna need all the time we can get. With a skip and a jump, Terry was already clambering into her parents' van. She waved enthusiastically as the sliding door closed. After retreating to a safe distance, you and Baxter watched the van pull out and head off up the street. It's surprising it couldn't move anymore with all that extra weight. I mean, lots of party supplies doesn't necessarily mean they're heavy. The glow of the headlights grew distant, then faded into night like a late summer dream. All was quiet for a pause, and then Baxter spoke. I understand that there's one more job left to take care of then. He nodded down at the clear containers you're still clutching in your hand. Yeah, I still have stuff to do. It's going to be a long night.
To be honest,
Well, I kind of say I'm surprised you aren't finished. It's a tall order arranging an event at short notice. Not that I'm criticizing your attempt in the slightest. It's honestly admirable to see the commitment. But I'm getting off topic. What's next on the agenda? You explained to Baxter the situation with the party food. You volunteered to make chocolate cupcakes with cheesecake frosting, while Terry would do the real birthday cake. It was a relatively simple order, at least. No last-minute meringues for Miranda. She'd survived the disappointment. Oh, meringues. From what I understand that meringues are a pain to do. The edible faux metallic glitter that Terry handed you was to be the final layer of decoration, a touch of pizzazz that transformed the basic cupcakes into something more to theme. Baxter touched a hand to his mouth and nodded in agreement as you explained. Of course, a pleasing appearance is hardly the most critical factor. A poorly baked dessert would still taste bad no matter how it looked, but flair can help elevate a thing beyond itself. I suppose you could say it's the icing on the cake. Oh, that was a good one! That was so good! Baxter coughed quietly into his fist and said to muffle a laugh. Terry had been rubbing off on him, clearly. Regardless, that sounds to be a marvelous idea, though slightly less marvelous given how tight the schedule is. It's getting late. There's no denying that. His thoughtful expression was obscured by the darkness around both of you. Here's what I suggest. Why don't you come over to my house to do it? I can give you a hand with the preparation if you think I'll be any use. For how often and how readily Baxter always offered his services, you shouldn't have been taken aback by his latest gesture, and yet you still found yourself wondering, why? Baxter clearly anticipated your reaction, cutting off the question before he could ask it. He made a gesture as if he was looking at his wristwatch, though of course he didn't wear one. It's nearly 10 p.m. Your family won't exactly thank you for baking this late at night. The noise is one thing. The smell will be another matter. I took a folklore class in college, and for the end of the semester, the teacher asked each of the students to bake a dish that was important to us both. Not just, the sort of dish that you would make for a special occasion. Originally, I was going to do spaghetti, but I was like, we do spaghetti all the time. What's something that we don't bake all the time? We only do pumpkin pies for Thanksgiving and Christmas, so I went ahead and made those, which was great because a lot of the students brought savory dishes, so the pies were a dessert, and I ended up, the whole family could just smell the pumpkin pies, and they knew they weren't for them, and it was a little distracting. Though, of course, we did get to eat the leftover pies when I brought them home. And besides, your fridge might not have enough free space. Leaving the cakes out all night might spoil them. The fridge in my condo is, well, there's plenty of room. Baxter's diction had gained a fake quavering edge, like he was skirting around a nervous giggle. It's empty, in fact. I have a conveniently empty fridge and a conveniently empty house.
Perfect.
Wouldn't you say? When he put it in those terms, it made total sense. Baxter sure did have a lot of foresight when it came to these things. It was impressive he always thought that far ahead. You agreed. It was an opportune set of circumstances, but as he talked about how empty his temporary home was, it struck you that Baxter sounded a little sad? He must be quiet, all alone in that house. Maybe that was why he was always so willing to come spend time with you or the other people he knew around here. Yes, pumpkin pie is so good. A lot of people don't like it, but I love it. Especially if you put Cool Whip or whipped cream on top. So good. Recently we've started also making apple pie because my twin prefers that. I mean, she'll eat pumpkin pie, but she prefers apple pie. Okay, well that would be really helpful. Thanks. Don't mention it. I'm in it until the very end as far as this party is concerned. Call it a vocation of sorts. Oh, we're seeing hints at what he does with his life. I love this. I mean, we got hints as to what his life is like, but now we're getting hints. Foreshadowing. There we go. Foreshadowing. The feeling's mutual. What did I just say was mutual? Call it a vacation. Okay. Oh, we always do 2 pumpkin pies because we'd get the prepared pumpkin pie, pumpkin puree stuff, and that always was enough to make 2 pumpkin pies, which was great because we could get the crusts in packages of 2. So it was always just easier to do 2 pumpkin pies. Of course, we'd have to remember to put the spices in. One year my brother forgot to do that. It still tasted okay, it just was missing some spice. Baxter clapped his hands together. He'd fully committed himself to the cause and was ready to put a plan in motion. Excellent. Let's get cooking, shall we?
Very well.
I'll have to retrieve ingredients from your house since I don't have anything myself. The kitchen's fully outfitted, however, so you needn't bring any equipment. If you want to take care of little things chez toi, I can begin prepping the utensils and such. I'll leave the front door unlocked, so feel free to let yourself in when you're ready. Chez toi. I should know what that means. I took French in college for fate's sake. Okay, your house. That's what I thought. Why do you have to be French? Why do you have to be fancy? If you want to take care of things at your house, I can begin prepping the utensils and such. I'll leave the front door unlocked, so feel free to let yourself in when you're ready. I know I read that already, but I had to get my mindset back into the story here. Sure thing. And so you briefly split up. Baxter walked briskly to his rented condo while you made your way speedily home. Yeah, thank you, Karinika. I figured it out, but thank you. The night was still young, sort of, and so were you. What was a little harmless sleep deprivation between friends? What kind of person even got tired at 10 p.m. anyway? Not you, that was for sure. I mean, 10 p.m. is about when I start winding down, but I don't actually go to bed until 11. When you came in, you spied your mom sitting around the living room. They were huddled up on one of the couches, luxuriating in one another's company after a day's work. Ma's head rested on her wife's shoulder while Mom brushed fingers lightly through her hair. They could have been a famous sculpture or painting sitting there. Aww, that's such a cute image. It was hard to witness your parents like that sometimes. Not because it was embarrassing, but some people might have seen it that way. Your moms were a thing of tremendous gravity in your life. You were a fledgling they had fed and clothed and cleaned up after and loved for years and years, and soon you would be taking flight. You'd be gone. For people who aren't familiar with this game, your character was adopted by your moms when you were a baby. You and your older sisters, so you're both adopted. So it kind of helps with the whole making, customizing your appearance thing. And they've raised you together, and they only recently got married because of because it's two women, and one of them, it comes up, I forget exactly when, but it comes up that one of your moms is bisexual and the other is lesbian, but they don't care. They love each other. Maybe that was why you found yourself glancing down at the hardwood floor at the side of your mom's. It was a lot to take in at 10 p.m., to be honest. But the sound of the front door alerted them both to your presence. The two halves of that piece of art moved in alignment and turned. Welcome back, sweetie. Nice of you to drop by, Jules. Will you be staying with us long? No. Classic mom joke. You babbled out the whole Terry organizing a last-minute party for Randy, don't tell anyone, been out all day, and by the way, I need to make cupcakes tonight situation. Not to mention the I'm not going over to Baxter's house, do we have any ingredients I can use situation. There's a whole lot of situation to cover.
That's fantastic.
Oh, that's absolutely wonderful, Jules. I'm sure Miranda will be delighted. You're all working so hard. It's getting late, though, and you've been going for most of the day. Mom was eyeing the wall clock and gave you a playful pout. Are you sure you don't want to call it a night and let your mom and me handle the baking? You shook your head, declining the offer. Miranda was your friend, and you'd given Terry your word that you'd take care of it. Besides, it wasn't as if your mom hadn't also worked today. Ma's tiny frown deepened, so disappointed not to be allowed to baby you. But it was all in good humor.
Fine.
Alright, we won't push it. So as you're sure Baxter's okay with you wreaking havoc with his immaculate kitchen. Yeah, I think, when my twin moved out, I think my mom had a little bit of trouble adjusting to the fact that she was losing one of her babies. Ma let out an unbridled snort. He's a teenager living on his own, Pam. How immaculate could that kitchen be? You open your mouth to defend Baxter and all other teenagers before realizing that it hardly counted as the only reason he had a clean kitchen was that he never used it in the first place. Yeah, I think it sounds like he goes out to eat all the time. If his tone earlier was anything to go by, he'd probably even thank you for making a mess. It might brighten up the place. You didn't say any of this to your moms, though. I think the most baking I do these days is we do cakes for birthdays and Mother's Day and that sort of thing. And we also do pancakes regularly. We stick them in the freezer so they'll last. But I think that's about the amount of baking we do. And we still make a mess, but we make sure to clean it up. You made it clear to them that Baxter had assured you it was a-okay. It was his idea to begin with, after all. He'd been insistent on helping, like certain other people you could mention. Yeah, so this is Mom, Pam, and this is Ma, and Noelani. So her name made it clear to me that she was Hawaiian, just from the way the name was written. And it's borne out in one of the previous moments you talked to Baxter about your family, and your mom's family most of them are in Hawaii. So the family you're closest to are your mother's family. This mollified your parents, so they teased they were acting entirely out of consideration for your temporary neighbor. Too bad Baxter Ward had out-considered them already. And if anyone wants to see more of this game itself, I do have the rest of the playthrough available on my YouTube channel. Just look up my username, Justana, and you'll find it.
I understand.
You'll handle it like the grown-ups you are. At least let us help you gather the ingredients together before you go. Pam, do you think you could get the...
Sure thing.
Already on it. Mom had headed towards the kitchen and began pulling things out of cupboards. Your mom and I actually have some leftover boxes of chocolate cake mix from... Oh, I forget what it was for now, but you're welcome to take it all, honey. That should save you some time. The frosting will have to be made fresh, but I always find that's the easiest part. Oh, and we also have Mom's arm shot out from behind the fridge door, clutching a large tub of cream cheese. She placed it next to a row of bright red boxes of cake mix and a half a dozen eggs on the counter. That's only 6 eggs. Is that enough? You should take some extra muffin tins too, just in case. If Baxter's oven is big enough, you can bake multiple batches at once instead of doing it in stages. You might not need it, but being prepared never hurt anybody. Here, Mom paused, thoughtful look on her face. Unless you were making a plan to, say, assassinate someone, then your preparations would be designed to... Pamela, the muffin tins. Right, muffin tins. We have 2 you can take along. Cupcake platters too. While they were meant to only help, your moms did all the work of getting the supplies, and soon you found yourself ready to head on over to Baxter's condo. They kissed you one on either cheek and shooed you enthusiastically out the door. You hurried across the street, lugging your cargo in 2 large grocery store branded totes. Once up the front steps of Baxter's house, you gingerly rearranged things so you were able to grab the doorknob. As promised, Baxter had left it unlocked, a panel of light spread over your feet. Sealing yourself in preparation for the last stretch of an interminable day, you gripped the bag handles tighter and stepped inside. Stepping briskly through the entry, you recalled that Baxter's condo had a kitchen directly opposite the main living room. You made your way straight there. Baxter was waiting for you beside the fridge and swiveled around when he heard you enter. Ah, you're here. Excellent. Welcome, welcome.
So?
Were you able to find everything we need from your house? Many places might be closed this late, but I'm not opposed to a trip to the grocery store if necessary. You casually lifted the 2 large bags of ingredients and baking supplies and placed them on the counter between you. No need. I managed to get everything. Or rather, my mother's did. You both made a start on unpacking the bags of ingredients, but before you could get very far, there was a sudden exclamation from Baxter. In your hands were 2 boxes of cake mixture.
Hallelujah.
I was hoping you'd bring something similar. Being that genuinely glad, you couldn't help but let your eyes widen in surprise. Yeah, when we usually just get cake mix, and there's usually the baking directions they have several different versions depending on what sizes of tins you're using, including muffin tins. Are you not much of a baker? Baxter sheepishly raked a hand through his iconically colored hair. Practically speaking, I actually haven't the faintest idea what kind of baking I'm capable of. The probability suggests that it's unlikely to be much. To tell you the truth, I have never baked before in my entire life, whether using a pre-prepared mix or not. I only imagine that this way would be easier, potentially. We are not going to spoil Miranda's birthday. That's okay, I'm pretty good at it myself. On the other hand, I'm an absolute disaster at decorations. Baxter's mouth lifted in an impish little smirk. In that case, we can lean on each other. 2 heads are better than 1 and all that. At least, that's the theory. We must soldier on either way. Speaking of which, let's get baking, shall we? You finished unpacking the remaining ingredients, lining them all up carefully on the countertop. Baxter took the second bag and did the same. That reminds me, I might have been a bit hyperbolic when talking about how bad my fridge is earlier. It's not as if the thing is completely empty. At the time, I wanted to assure you that it wouldn't be any trouble for you to come and make use of it, and there definitely is plenty of room.
Of course.
But I'm not completely incapable of providing a basic level of hospitality. If you're ever hungry or thirsty, let me know. This news came as early to you, probably not for the reason that Baxter was expecting. Sure, it was great that you wouldn't starve while you were here, but mostly you were glad to hear that Baxter wasn't living on his own with nothing to eat in the house. That mental image had been so lonely. Very true. You need snacks even if you're going out for meals. You thanked Baxter for the offer, although you weren't in the mood for anything at present. At some point in the conversation, Baxter had rummaged around in a cupboard and added a 3rd muffin tray to the 2 of yours. The kitchen happened to be supplied with one of these already, but thank you for bringing the spares in case of emergency. As often happened in your life, you found yourself offering a prayer of thanks to your mom for reminding you of the blindingly obvious. Actually, I think we could use them all. It's pretty inefficient to bake only 1 tray of cakes at a time. Depending on how big your oven is, we could do 3 together. Baxter's eyebrows lifted a fraction in surprise. That's true. There should be enough space. The pans aren't terribly large. I'll double check. They haven't indicated how many there are in each of the trays, because the ones we have here have 6, but I've seen trays with 12. You picked up one of the trays, walked over to the oven, and opened it up. put it inside, took it back out, then tried putting it in again long ways. Then he nodded, apparently satisfied. Yes, that will do it, especially if we use more than one shelf. 3 dozen cupcakes at once. We could almost start a bakery. Okay, that tells me right there how many spots there are in each tray. We each have 12. He was more than a little tickled by the idea, so he refrained from pointing out that he'd first have to know a bit more about baking to actually run one.
All right.
Another matter squared away. Where shall we begin? Without saying another word, you tore into the cake mix. We'll start with the batter, which is a mix plus water, oil, and eggs. Normally you'd use milk, but the mix we're using has powdered milk in it, to begin with, so water is good. I see. Yeah, I've seen posts online about how you could zhuzh up cake mixes by replacing some of their suggested ingredients with other things, like adding Coke to a chocolate cake mix or coffee, which I wouldn't agree with, but other people might like that. We also need to set the oven to preheat to 350 Fahrenheit. Excellent, that's relatively straightforward. What's great about our oven right now is that it beeps when it's preheated to let us know. Fairview promptly made a start. Measuring out the ingredients into a mixing bowl didn't present any real challenge. Baxter insisted on cracking the eggs. Even I know how to do that much. Actually, I need to go. Quick break. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. Ugh. Even I know how to do that much. With everything together in one bowl, you start to stir it together using a wooden spoon. While you're mixing the batter, Baxter diligently placed 36 miniature paper cupcake batters into the tins. Once he was finished, he came and peered over your shoulder into the bowl. Is it ready? You gave a firm nod. You had the batter at a good, even consistency, moderately thick while still being runny enough to pour.
What do you think?
How were you meant to get it into the trays? A spoon, perhaps? A serving spoon would do fine, although a rubber spatula would come in handy for getting the last bits of batter out of the bowl. Pick them both out of the utensil drawer. Portioning out the batter into the cupcake tins was where things started to get more involved. He took care of filling the 2 tins he brought from home, while Baxter made the effort on his own tin by himself. He managed to get the batter sitting evenly in all the cases without spilling. Baxter's pan didn't fare so well, however. His Baxter portions were uneven and some of the mixture had dribbled off the spoon and onto the tray, which had to be wiped down. He mumbled a quiet apology, clearly embarrassed, but he squashed it with an encouraging grin. He performed his duty, and you were grateful for the help. Baxter cautiously lifted the trays one at a time into the hot oven, placing 2 on the top shelf and sliding the last one in underneath. Then he checked the instructions again and set a timer on his phone. There was enough cake batter left to fill another 2 trays, at a rough estimate, but the 3 in the oven were all you had, so you covered the bowl with shrink wrap and put it in the fridge. By that point it was nearly 11 o'clock, but Baxter had remained perky and chipper as the night wore on. It didn't come as a surprise by this point, since you knew full well he was a proven night owl. While the cakes were in the oven, you had to take care of the frosting next. You could remember a recipe without any trouble. Mom was right, it was one of the easier parts of making a cake, all told, beside the necessary ingredients allowed. As you went down the list, Baxter foraged around on the countertop and handed the named items to you, which you added to a fresh mixing bowl. Then he dove under the counter for a moment and popped back up, sporting a handheld electric whisk. You inserted the 2 metal beaters into the mixture and switched to a low setting. Then you turned the whisk on. Once the mixture was settled, you gradually upped the speed. Once again, Baxter was rather awestruck by the ease with which you handled the process. He'd been giving the electric whisk a nervous side-eye ever since it was brought out. If I'd been given charge of that device, a Destiny Sugar would have been the least of our concerns. We might have spent the entire night scraping cream cheese off the walls. He chuckled and continued to smooth out the spread. While you doted on the bowl, Baxter peered over you with interest, leaning close in order to get a better look. It was a touch closer than might be considered strictly polite, and there was something about the proximity of his body that made it harder than usual to concentrate on the task at hand. Ooh la la! You certainly didn't mind per se, but still, you were operating dangerous equipment here. You could easily pick up the smell of his aftershave. He swallowed. At some point he concluded that he was crowding you overmuch and took a few small steps to a safer distance. He sort of lounged against the far counter, trying to make it appear as though he'd always intended to do so. Uh-huh. Sure, dude. Baxter worked quite hard behind the scenes to give off the impression that everything he did was totally effortless. Maybe it came from being a dancer. He pondered these things during the tedious mixing process. It was so cute. Of course you already knew Baxter was pretty adorable. It wasn't too long before you had the frosting looking halfway decent and turned the whisk off. Baxter took that as his cue to come back over, smiling pleasantly.
Thanks.
For taking care of that, Jules. You shot him a cheeky thumbs up while taking a lick off the whisk. Baxter's face creased into a look of mild concern.
You know.
Careful, Jules. We want to be sure we'll have enough to go on the cupcakes. You guessed that made sense. Darn Baxter and Snack for planning. You guiltily handed over the whisk since you clearly couldn't be trusted. Excellent. All the more from me. And then you watched scandalized as Baxter reached down and took a hearty dollop off frosting off the beater himself. His grin could have cut granite, it was that sharp. Unbelievable. Oh, you sly. So sneaky. I'd originally planned to put the frosting in the fridge while we wait for the cakes to finish, so that might make it too difficult to spread later on. What do you think? I'd been about to say the same thing, so he merely nodded in approval. It was nice to see that he was beginning to figure things out. At this point you were inclined to relax a bit. Even with the frosting taken care of, and the comforting smell of baking in the air, Baxter was in the mood to keep himself busy. In fact, your success with the cakes, however relative that success might be, had put him in an industrious frame of mind. He watched as he cheerfully donned a pair of rubber gloves, black, of course, and began to fill the sink with water in order to wash the bowls and other baking equipment. While the faucet was running, he also took out some cloths and surface cleaner with the intent of wiping down the countertops wherever there were traces of cake mix, powder, and batter. We're gonna help out. We help make the mess, we're gonna help clean it up. He gave you a silent smile of gratitude as he picked up one of the rags and gave the bottle of cleaner. You didn't exchange words. There was no need. Suddenly there was a bright tinkling sound. It jolted you out of whatever thought you'd been having. Baxter's hand went to his back pocket. The timer on his phone had run out.
Exciting.
The cakes are done. He was genuinely excited by the prospect, hastily jabbing at his string to turn off the alarm, and grabbing a nearby pair of oven mittens with pictures of cats on. They must have belonged to the owner of the condo rather than Baxter himself, since the fabric was a deep red color. The cats were all black and white, though. You suppose that counted. Carefully, cautiously, he eased the 3 baking pans out of the oven, placing them one by one onto the granite counter. He even recalled which had gone in first, second, and third, and removed them in proper order. The cakes looked good. They'd risen uniformly, and the color was a nice, rich chocolate brown. They hadn't dried out either. You could see a faint, moist sheen on the surface. You chimed up as you admired your handiwork. Do you have anything to go underneath the pans? To protect the counter, I mean. Oh, that's a good point. I don't think there's anything here, though. It should be fine. Hopefully. The stone is real, not a veneer over sturdy material. Baxter stared down at the his face thoughtful. Then removed the oven gloves, folded them on the tabletop, and pinched the bridge of his nose, eyes closed.
So...
I dread to ask, but how many of these were we supposed to make? I've only now realized I never asked Harry how much food she needs. Oh, you hadn't thought of that. Well, I happened to decide you'd bring cupcakes. Harry never said anything about quantity. She simply wanted another dessert besides her cake. You explained as much to Baxter. He breathed in through his nose and sighed deeply and opened his eyes. Perhaps that's because Harry didn't know herself. That's understandable. This whole party was extempore to begin with. I do hope 36 is enough. Even with the spare batter, we don't have time to prepare another batch, not that to cool and be frosted before the event. I must extend my thanks once again that you brought your family's spare tins over, otherwise the crowd would be fighting over a paltry 12 cupcakes. Thank Moms for letting us have them. That was lucky. Speaking of your family, you checked the clock on your phone to see how long ago you bade them farewell. Wow, it's already gone past midnight. You couldn't believe it got so late, and you couldn't even start the frosting until the cakes had cooled, which might take another hour or more. Put the phone down, glancing in Baxter's direction. You were acutely aware who's doing you a favor, more than one for that matter. You didn't want to further impose if it would be an issue. You decided to put the question to him directly, as much as you were able. What would be worse, staying up even later to finish everything tonight, or getting up bright and early tomorrow morning? Baxter scrunched up his face, his boyish nose wrinkling in distaste. Waking up early, no question. This is Baxter we're talking to. Of course you knew he'd say that before you even asked, but you wanted to give him the choice. It's fine, don't worry. I'll stay awake as long as needed to see this endeavor through. I understood what I was signing up for when I offered to help, more or less. Though I honestly don't mind if you head home and get some rest. I can idle around until the cakes have set, and then, you know, the rest. Till today, I've never baked before, and by extension, I am 99% certain I've never frosted a cake before either, but I can manage. He cleared his throat, crossing his arms with finality. The point is, I don't intend to quit until the end. Bitter, but hopefully not bitter in taste, and... I could never make you do all that by yourself, Baxter.
I appreciate the understanding.
Greatly. Both your continued company and your help. We'll get through this with, what was it? The awesome and terrible power of teamwork? Plus, you know, spending more time with Baxter. It's always a plus. Bow down. Of course, all hail. The commitment made, you decided to put the cakes in the freezer for a short while to help speed the cooling process along. The 3 tins fit snugly inside. Nothing left to do but wait. You know, this was actually pretty fun. Oh, there's no need to sound quite so surprised about it, but I agree. It's been a delightful experience on the whole. Baxter pressed firmly against the freezer door, making positively sure that it had shut, and then tapped at his phone, setting another timer, before glancing in your direction.
Well,
Since we need to wait a while longer, why don't we take this opportunity to rest? You're welcome to use either the couch or a chair in the living room. He ran a finger around his collar before putting a hand to his forehead, pantomiming fatigue. I must say, trying to keep up with you is taking its toll on my stamina. I'm starting to feel the effects. I'll take a rest on the couch then. Of course, please go right ahead. Oh, before you go. He held up a hand, gesturing vaguely about. I'd almost forgotten where we were. I'll join you shortly, but can I bring you anything refreshing to drink? I was about to get myself a little something. Just some water.
Certainly.
I'll bring a glass along. You made your way into the sitting area, making yourself at home on the generously sized couch. It was unexpectedly comfortable for one so fashionable. The house was built on an open plan, to the extent that you could still see Baxter over in the kitchen from where you were waiting. He opened one of the cabinets and took out something that looked suspiciously like one of the classic champagne flutes you and Terry had bought earlier today, except that one was real glass. From the fridge, he fetched a large green bottle from a side shelf, which you hadn't spotted before. He needed to screw a cork off the top. Out of it poured a fizzy liquid, pale gold in color. Wait, is that real champagne?
Yes.
Correct. The reply came immediately without so much as a glance in your direction. He had no compunction about what he was doing. Can I try some? Baxter finally looked over at you, a wry smirk on his face. Then he reached into the cabinet again, retrieving a second champagne flute. I'd hate to be a bad influence, yet it'd be hypocritical not to offer you the same opportunity to misbehave that I afford myself. And I'd hate that even more. Exceptionally poor manners. It's all right. I was the one who asked. Without another word, Baxter poured a fresh glass, taking them both in his hands. He having poured his drink, Baxter set about procuring your water. He pointedly used a plain mug rather than a second champagne glass. Then he took both drinks in hand. He carefully navigated his way out of the kitchen and perched himself on one of the chairs. You took the drink he held out, then he clinked your glasses together and raised the one he had to his mouth. I won't tell if you won't. His lips curled mischievously. Yeah, in America, of course, the legal drinking age is 21, but obviously at home you can drink younger than that. But look at me, drinking on the job. What a shameful way to start my new party planning occupation. Pro bono, naturally. Cheers, Jules. He took a long, slow sip of his champagne, closing his eyes and savoring the taste. He smacked his lips and let out a low ah of enjoyment. That hits the spot, much better than the thing they call a baby Bellini. Though you wouldn't have admitted it, the laid-back manner with which he handled such an illicit topic was rather beguiling. Maybe you had a bit of a soft spot for the bad boys. Your thoughts snagged on something Baxter had said a moment ago, his joke about drinking while on the clock. In a certain sense, you reasoned, it wasn't so much of a joke after all. Baxter had readily committed to helping you and Terry organize Miranda's party at extremely short notice. He dedicated himself to the endeavor not just today, but tomorrow as well. All of that for a group of people who'd only recently come to know. Baxter, be honest, are you really enjoying yourself with the party stuff? Baxter didn't meet your gaze, his eyes wandering around the room as he gently swirled the champagne in his glass. He took another slow sip before answering, intentionally dramatic.
My pleasure.
I'm having a good time, Jules. I'd hate for you to fret over something such as that. I couldn't have devised a more pleasant way to spend my time here, even if I tried. Now, to be frank, I have tried. I didn't come to Sunset Bird totally devoid of any plans or ideas. You and your friends have invited me to participate in an event with great significance to you. It is a profound gesture to show to a relative stranger. When it's over, and I'm long gone from here, I hope you can all look back on this party for years to come, maybe for the rest of your lives, and treasure the memory. And if I am part of that memory, then that is satisfaction enough, though perhaps I'm in danger of giving my contribution too much credit. He was smiling, but it was a muted, distant thing, like a car headlamp seen a long way off, ready to turn a corner. It felt akin to a farewell, even though he wasn't leaving yet. The glimmer was gone as his eyes met yours over the rim of his champagne flute.
You know.
Besides, I'm on vacation. I have nothing but day after day of generous free time. It would be silly to begrudge its being used, especially as it's easier for me. This part is only a party from my perspective, which means I can put my head back and simply bask in the occasion with the highs and the lows. For you and your friends, this is important. It has weight. I have to say, I'm curious about the situation. You and Terry are both determined to make this a big event, but for all that, it seems a rather one-off affair. Not wishing to sound critical, but if you were in the regular habit of throwing each other parties, you would have expected better preparation for, well, the preparation.
To be honest.
Is there something about this specific birthday that warranted such a special affair? You found yourself taken aback by this. It wasn't like you hadn't thought about it either. You've been doing as much earlier tonight. But what with the rush to get all the ingredients and baking the cakes, you've been distracted since then. Bad boys drink champagne? This particular bad boy certainly does. All at once, the feelings you suppressed bubbled back up to the surface. Slowly, hesitantly, you began to talk. This might be the last birthday we get to celebrate together. I've known Cove basically my whole life, Terry and Randy not as long. Still, they're important to me. Soon we'll be grown up and we'll head off to different places in life. You're getting choked up putting the feelings into words. You willed your voice to hold together. I'm kind of heartbroken over it. I know they'll be around, but it still feels like I'm losing them, you know? As he listened to your explanation, Baxter regarded you with a solemn expression. There was a pinch in his forehead where his eyebrows had come together. He was all sympathy.
I'm sorry.
You're going through a difficult experience. I wish I knew how to alleviate matters. It's so uncertain. Sadly, there are few, if any, guarantees in this world. Or rather, such is the case for the vast majority of us. I can believe there are people who can remain close to each other in spite of distance and years between them. Those who will remain in your life, always. His countenance had softened, a faint hopefulness lighting his face as moonlight on water. He spoke with tenderness.
I believe you will find those kinds of people.
I really do. And while nobody can say for sure, I bet that you already have. Yeah, I'm looking at one of them right now. I hope you can have someone like that as well.
Thank you.
You're too kind. I'm a skeptic, so I won't hold my breath yet. But who can say what life has in store for us? Maybe it's partially due to the lateness of the hour or the ordeal you were both wading through, but you were overcome with a strong surge of affection for Baxter. He'd be the first to play it down, but you knew the memories of your time with him were going to be precious indeed. We're gonna smooch him, 'cause we can! You slowly drew closer and kissed him. As you pressed your lips to his, Baxter responded somewhat hesitantly at first. You could feel his hands hovering in a hair's breadth above your forearms, like he wasn't certain what to do. Gradually, he eased into it, holding you gently while moving his mouth against yours. There was an uncharacteristic nervousness to his touch. I love the blush. Blushy, blushy, blushy. When you pulled away, you saw that his eyes had been narrowly open. Baxter let out a heavy breath, pressing a hand to his sternum. His pale complexion was stained with a vibrant flush. It was such a captivating color, in contrast to his usual monochrome. He cleared his throat and leaned away to place his champagne flute over on one of the coffee tables nearby, eyes avoided.
It's...
Perhaps it's best not to be too distracted when we decorate the cakes after all, or drunk for that matter. That was directed inwardly as much as it was to you, a low murmur, an attempt to calm himself. There was a long pause. The only sound was a faint whisper of a car passing by, the gurgle of the fridge from the kitchen. Ah! The two of you jumped in surprise as Baxter's phone went off like a shot in the night. It was the alarm he'd set when he put the cakes in the freezer. He shakily turned it back off, getting up from his seat. A few seconds hesitation, and then, well, no, those cupcakes had better be ready for us. It had the vaguely dangerous quality of a threat, which was so absurd after the past few minutes that he couldn't help but giggle. By this point, even your fumes were running out of fumes. Let's roll a dice here. Let's see. Where is it? There we go. Have a D10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Three. Even after unwinding, you were sleepy. You could keep going, though. But this was it, the final stretch before the finish line. You left the living room and returned to the kitchen, where Baxter had popped open the freezer door. You retrieved the bowl of frosting and a plastic bag for piping, along with the tubes of glitter Terry had given you hours ago. We can each take half into the frosting and dusting in one go, right? Wish me luck. That sounds like a plan. It'll be fine. You both set about this last task with a grim determination. You worked quickly, not sharing any conversation or otherwise distracting from the job at hand. You frosted and dusted, each of the 36 cupcakes being lined up along the counter as they were completed.
Oh.
Drat. Make that 35. The singleton Baxter dropped, splattered helpless on the kitchen floor. There was a break in the frosting, a moment of disrespect for cake now lost. Disrespect? Respect. Duh. I'm fine. Then you both shrugged. One extra cupcake wasn't about to make a world of difference, though Terry might have disagreed. But Terry didn't know it wouldn't hurt her. When the surviving cupcakes had been properly outfitted with sugar, more sugar on top of the existing sugar to be precise, you stepped back to admire your creation. Each cupcake had been dutifully topped with a dollop of shiny frosting. The less said about aesthetics of the frosting, the better. It was there, and that was the important thing. Considering that you'd both been complete novices to begin with, it could have been much more disastrous. No one had died, no people had died, and nobody was likely to get food poisoning. You two fished out 4 airtight plastic containers from a lower drawer and stashed the cupcakes inside. Lids were closed, boxes were in the fridge, and finally the door was shut. It was finished. You had survived. You checked the time. It was almost 2 in the morning. You could have almost cried from joy. Baxter rubbed his tired eyes and massaged his temples. I have a newfound respect for bakers everywhere. I shall look forward to having all my future life events professionally catered, even if it costs a fortune. Yeah, but you have the money for that. He stared down at the miserable remains of the casualty cupcake on the tile.
Never.
Again. You laughed, the sight too funny for you to keep a straight face. Ignore the mess, I can take care of it. I'll see you back to your house. I fear your parents might be worried that you've been out so late. You reassured him that it was fine. Your moms knew you were just across the street, and you'd said it might take a while. You weren't concerned. Baxter was relieved to hear it. The journey home was a blur, a disconnected sequence of images. As promised, Baxter walked with you down the steps of his condo and across the road. You remembered the welcoming glow of the porch light, the wave Baxter gave you as the front door closed. You ambled through your childhood home in the dark by feel and instinct alone. You found the stairs in silence, tiptoed into your room, approached the bed, and then you jerked awake with a start. There's a loud knocking coming from your bedroom door.
How are you?
Kiddo, you awake? You were in your bedroom. You were pretty sure about that anyway. 80% positive at least. You were too drowsy to come up with any more creative place to be. But besides the basic and likely fact of existing in your bedroom, you found that you hadn't the faintest idea what was going on. There had been a voice, right? You remembered a voice. Terry phoned the house earlier, but you missed her. There it was again, your mom's voice. As you slowly blinked awake, realization came to you in stages. You recalled the events of yesterday. The lived sensation swam in your memory. A frantic afternoon of planning, of shopping, and of sugar. Remember the things that you and Baxter decided not to talk about. At some point you had ended up in your bed and asleep, but you didn't recall setting an alarm. Tara had said she'd pick you up at 7 this morning, so she was your wake-up call for the day. Poked your head out from beneath the blanket and called out, I'm awake! I'm awake! Staying in the middle of your room, your mind blanked. Then you scrunched up your face really tight and allowed your brain to form a coherent thought. Miranda's birthday. It's Miranda's birthday! You hastily changed into a fresh set of clothes, tried to trim your bed head as best you could, and then raced downstairs. You bade your moms a quick farewell.
Have fun.
Sweetie. And say happy birthday to Miranda from us, okay? You had barely enough time to yell a quick thank you over your shoulder before you were out the front door. When you stepped outside, Cove was there waiting for you on the sidewalk. The number of times you'd left the house to find him there, it sometimes made you wonder if he lived on your sidewalk. Hi, Cove. It's been a while. He hadn't the faintest trace of sleepiness on him, but then Cove rarely did. He was a tiny sun at any time of day, but mornings were when he shone the brightest. You exchanged your usual greetings, but rather than stop to chat, you kept on walking by. You explained to him the cakes were at Baxter's place, and you needed to go pick them up.
Oh.
Alright. Cove didn't tag along, content to leave you to your own devices. That made sense. He wasn't yet at the point of seeking out Baxter's company willingly, and wasn't likely to start right now. When you knocked on Baxter's door, it popped right open like your meager taps had knocked it off its hinges. Hi, Baxter.
Nice to
Good
see
morning.
you.
I've been expecting you. You'd gotten that impression. He moved aside in the hallway to let you pass, and you strode briskly into the condo. He followed you into the kitchen where you found the cakes in their containers stacked on the countertop. The big day is, finally here. Excuse me. His exposure had been broken with an enormous yawn, the size you hadn't seen since the coffee shop. Hey, I'm just wondering, what time did you go to bed last night?
Honestly.
Truthfully, I didn't make it to bed. You weren't surprised by now. Baxter was just like that, but he still felt the pang of guilt. You're putting him through the ringer with this party. It's not an issue. I felt rather rough after I finished cleaning yesterday and took the liberty of having a nice long shower. I also prefer to avoid going to bed with damp hair. But no sooner had I gotten dry than I realized that I wouldn't be able to get a substantial amount of sleep before I needed to be up again. Anyway, so I stayed awake instead. Why are people setting off fireworks? It's light outside and it's not even July. Even so, maybe try to take a nap sometime today? I'll see what I can do.
Now.
Enough about me. Let's take these delicious delicacies outside and wait for Terry. She texted me earlier to let me know she was on her way. I imagine you received a similar message. Terry had indeed sent you a message, although it was too early in the day to be hit with something with so many exclamation points. How much sleep had she gotten? He picked up 2 of the waiting boxes, leaving you to carry the remainder. He didn't linger, heading straight for the front entrance. Baxter came up behind you with the key. He had trouble with the logistics, eventually resorting to balancing the containers in one hand like a serving tray before closing and locking the door with the other. Back on the street, Cove was still loitering on the street down by the front gate, blissfully unaware of what the secret party planning committee had gone through for this. Baxter called over to him, full of characteristic good cheer. "Good morning, neighbor." "Hey." Cove's response was quiet, more distracted than aloof, his peering with interest at the box you were carrying. He had hopes about the contents. The plastic was kind of foggy and translucent, so it wasn't quite possible to tell what was inside. But Cove intuited that whatever it was edible. The boy was like a shark sometimes. Always thinking with his stomach.
See?
My friend, you were looking at 35 of the finest freshly baked chocolate cupcakes with cream cheese frosting. Cove's face visibly lit up at the word cake, as if he'd been offered one already. That's great! I believe Terry is also bringing a proper birthday cake from home as well. Cove's smile grew even wider. You hoped Baxter was taking notes. The way to a man's heart is through his stomach was a phrase you suspected had originally been written about Cove. The promise of treats was far and away the most exciting aspect of any party, at least to him. Your childhood companion was so silly, you thought, he'd provided you with most of a lifetime's worth of entertainment for free. In fact, someone had tried to pay you to have it. That was Cove's dad. Not his best moment, but they got better about it. Those won't be the only sweets either. There's going to be a chocolate fountain, too. Cove's mouth formed a perfectly round O, and you thought you could see sparkles in its eyes. Or maybe they were sprinkles.
Yeah?
What are you guys bringing to dip in it? Strawberries, marshmallows, banana slices, pretzels? While Cove was busy listing every single item he thought might reasonably taste good drenched in liquefied chocolate, it struck you that you didn't know what the answer to this question was. Was Terry handling that? Were you supposed to have thought of something? You exchanged a nervous glance with Baxter, who shifted uncomfortably from one foot to the other. Very not good. Baxter didn't have a clue either, which could only mean that you had never even discussed the matter with Terry yesterday. It was a cupcake quandary all over again. He did mention it being strawberries in the chocolate, but, I don't know if Terry actually specified anything. Your shoulders slumped. You had honestly never anticipated organizing a party would involve coordinating so many different things. Your mind simply couldn't keep track of it all. Soon your distress, Baxter slipped into his usual mode of cool cucumberness. Let's think about this. Terry took the fountain home with her, so we can sensibly assume that she was taking charge of it, and by extension, the offerings to dip into the fountain. However, time isn't on our side, and luck has not been either. In order to be 100% absolutely crystal clear about the matter, we should text her and ask. Although, if she's currently driving, they trailed off, a hint of anxiety managing to mar even his carefully schooled demeanor. Honestly, if you have to wait until Terry gets there, you could probably just pick something up on the way if she hasn't thought of something. You'll exchange a new set of nervous glances, Cove joining in this time. This problem was one even he could worry about. We should grab stuff. Whoops! Our houses are right here, and you know what Terry's like. If she knew that what she was gonna do, she would have said so already. Baxter inclined his head in agreement, bending down to place his boxes of cakes on the ground near the condo's front entrance. Then he straightened, pulling himself up to his full height.
Fun.
We are going to go to our homes to retrieve some suitable samplers. Terry will arrive and take us to the venue, and there will be no further problems. His voice resonated with a forceful air of finality. This was perhaps the closest he'd seen to Baxter losing his temper. Then he added as an afterthought, unless of course we are hit by a car on the way there. But quite frankly, I will be much too tired to care about dying by then. Let's settle this. He was right. It had to be done. You simply put down your box of cupcakes next to Baxter's. Then the three of you made a run for it, each going your separate ways. You dashed over the road and hopped inside your house, heading directly for the kitchen. You opened cabinets at random, racking your brain for anything to bring. What would go in a chocolate fountain? You wished you'd paid more attention to what Cove had been saying earlier, though you did remember to swipe the bunch of ripe bananas off the counter. Then you hit the jackpot on the highest shelf of your family's cupboard. Back outside, the three of you examined the spoils of your impromptu raiding party. There were several types of assorted fruits, marshmallows, some cookies, pretzels, and a box of granola bars. Granola bars. In chocolate. I mean, there are, you could get chocolate chip granola bars, but I don't know if I'd want them dipped in chocolate. This last item, one of Cove's, had Baxter chuckling under his breath.
No.
I have to say, I've never heard of granola bars being dipped in a fountain before, chocolate or otherwise.
Well,
It was either that or the protein bars. No, this is good. It will be a novel addition, not to mention easy for people to hold without a utensil. Besides, I hardly contributed at all. Gestured a little timidly at the bag of salted pretzels, his sole addition to the haul. It was all he'd had to bring. I mean, we already know he doesn't have much in his kitchen. You'd save the day by finding your mom's and Liz's special treats, 3 types of cookies and baked marshmallows. They'd have to sacrifice for this event, as everyone else did. Right, I brought some bags along to put everything in. I can carry those while you two handle the cakes. You and Baxter both faced Cove's quick thinking and gratefully dumped everything into the bags he held out. Then you gathered up the boxes of cupcakes. You mingled about, making idle conversation about the upcoming party and trading some anecdotes with Cove about the baking process from the night before. He was especially mournful to hear about the accident that had claimed the 36th cupcake. Yes, he is a cute, and you can romance Cove, but I deliberately didn't because I figured most people would automatically romance him, so I wanted to do a playthrough where you didn't, where you just remained friends. And that also left, and I knew by then that the developers were planning to do the Baxter DLC and Derek DLC, so I wanted to leave things open for me to do those and romance them. No, Cove really is a sweetheart, and I'll have to show you the pictures of Derek, especially grown-up Derek. But soon there was the telltale sound of a vehicle approaching at speed. The Brooks van pulled up alongside you, and the horn honked loudly in greeting. Terry had arrived. You could see the enormous grin on her face through the front windshield. She enthusiastically stuck her arm out the driver's window and waved. Cove beamed and waved back.
Right.
I'll get the door. He pulled open the sliding side door, jumping inside and striking up a conversation with Terry immediately. He clambered in after him. The car was normally spacious, but since you filled it up with party equipment yesterday, it had gotten cramped. You made room for the additional food wherever you could.
Hey, buddies.
You ready to make like an RPG and party up? Not really. Were you ready to have a chocolate fountain? What did you bring to dip in it? Being subjected to this accusation right out of the gate knocked Carrie completely off her stride. Her expression was utterly baffled. Cove, how do you know about the chocolate fountain? I almost forgot we even had a chocolate fountain. Then Terry clapped a hand to her forehead, her eyes wide. Oh shoot, I forgot to bring stuff for the chocolate fountain. Terry started panicking, but Baxter promptly headed that off at the pass with a casual rap of his knuckles against the external wall of the van. He leaned in through the side door, having stopped short of climbing inside after you and Cove. No need to worry about it, Terry. We thought it might have happened, so we took the liberty of bringing along some offerings of our own. You guys got the goods?
Of course.
Right here. Cove held up one of the bags of extra supplies he was still clutching, jiggling it enticingly. Terry placed a hand heavily to her heart. Crap, you are my saviors. Don't scare me like that. I thought this party was a bust. Do you know how many times I thought that in the last 12 hours? You're lucky you're not doing this by yourself, Terry. Oh yeah, you got that right. Remind me to treat you to something nice once this is all over. Deal.
What?
Hold on. Barely did anything yet, Cove.
So?
He is present now, and it was thanks to him we realized what was amiss. Cove speaks for us all, I think. You have yourself a deal, Terry. Fine. Slowly but surely, you felt some of the stress from the last several hours fade away in the company of your friends. Maybe this whole thing would work out alright in the end. Baxter gently tapped the side of the vehicle again to grab everyone's attention.
Does that
With that
sound
safely out of the
alright?
way, I'll part with you three here. I'm going to drive along behind in my own car, if that's alright. Okay, sure, that's cool with me, man. Terry didn't really get what Baxter was doing, but she wasn't about to start raising objections. A brief glance at the two of you confirmed that neither you nor Cove had a clue between you either. I think Baxter just wants to be able to leave without, be able to leave whenever he needs to, or maybe just have somewhere private to take a nap. Splendid. I'll see you very soon. He punctuated his farewell by shutting the van door, leaving you and Cove to buckle yourselves in. Terry watched in the rearview mirror as Baxter approached his vehicle and got inside. Once he'd fastened his seatbelt and flashed her a quick thumbs up, she put the van in drive and pulled out. Baxter followed suit, and the four of you were off. You sat with boxes of cupcakes stacked precariously in your lap, your arms wrapped around the sides to prevent the tower from toppling. You were hyper-aware of every last dip and bump in the familiar roads like you'd never been before. As you went along, Terry laid out the plan for when you arrived.
All right.
So the day is to make sure we get all the snacks and drinks and that stuff ready first in case we're missing anything, or anything else. Then we've got to decorate everything as fast as physically possible before noon, basically. That's when people should start showing up. We're going to order some sandwich platters and salad bowls and stuff on delivery. Those should be here for people to eat along with the cake. Sort of like a late lunch. Oh, and by we, I mean Randy's mom and dad. We're off the hook for that part. She threw her head back and whooped with glee, a sound that was pure and clear as the morning. You felt her infectious enthusiasm. She continued. Anyways, Randy doesn't want to have her party track on forever and we'll need time to clean up before the place closes, so we're going to wrap things up with the event before dinner. When the guests are gone, we'll have until 10 before we'll get kicked out of the room. Now, I won't sugarcoat it or even chocolate coat it, team. It's going to be another long day for all of us. Just don't forget, Randy's going to be amazed and it'll all be worth the effort. I just know it. You closed your eyes, leaning back against the seat of the van. Terry was speaking the truth, of course, about all of it. It was to be another grueling day. But you had your friends and you were grateful to be huddling in the back of a van surrounded by a mountain of bags and 35 cupcakes in your lap. To be alive, to be there. You might have been in some danger of falling asleep again, sitting down for too long, but before you nodded off, Terry was parking the van in the lot outside a large building. It looked like it'd host generic offices rather than parties. You couldn't judge a book by its cover, apparently. We're here! Everybody out! On command, you and Cove dutifully climbed out of the van. Baxter was pulling up in his car, having managed to stick close to Terry the whole way. When your group had reassembled, there was a brief re-exchange of greetings. Terry wasn't in the mood to dawdle and clapped her hands together. Time to get moving, people! We've got a whole party truck to unload. Aye, aye, Captain. What he said.
Sure.
You and Terry carried your respective desserts while Cove and Baxter worked together to take a folded table from the back of the van. Terry led the way to the rented room. You peeked your head around the cupcake container and got your first look at the party space. This is cool. I love the lights. It looks like they can move too. Just looking at the housing. These are speakers. It looks like projector. It seriously was perfect for this, and exactly as Terry had originally described, shiny, pretty, and pink. On Terry's direction, the boys put the table down in what would eventually be the refreshment section of the party. They extended the legs and flipped it upright. Once it was stable on his feet, Baxter was quick to cover the surface with one of the golden tablecloths. It was ready to go. Ever so carefully, you set your plastic chest of bejeweled consumables down. When the opaque lids came off, the real frosted tops were still intact. On closer inspection, you could tell a few cupcakes on the left side of the container were slightly smooshed, but the glitter coating hadn't rubbed off, so no one else would notice the imperfection. Ah! Terry's gleeful exclamation came from over your shoulder. She'd caught sight of your arm Baxter's handiwork. That's what I'm talking about. The white cake with bits of rainbow confetti in her hands was the one element that was out of place with the theme. It was entirely unglamorous, a relic of more childlike birthdays. But that's why you were certain Miranda would adore it. She hadn't completely outgrown old favorites. Terry put it next to the cupcakes and gave you a big thumbs up. You had everything you needed, and the biggest potential disasters had been avoided. You could focus on the rest of the preparation work with confidence. The whole secret party planning committee went for another run of supply gathering. Another table and piles of plastic bags were brought into the venue. On the third round, everything had made inside. You carried a red cooler filled with chilled sparkling cider. Terry hid that under the covered table until later. Then all four of you sat around the lit up dance floor, taking stuff out of bags and sorting it into piles. Things for food on one half of the room, decorations on the other. Terry and Co were both cross-legged. Baxter kept his legs stretched out. Kind of like being a kid on Christmas, except instead of opening gifts, it was things you'd have to set up. Instead of piles of wrapping paper all around, it was plastic thank you for shopping bags. I know those bags. He still had plenty of fun, especially after it was somehow decided that Co Holden was a perfect fit for the feather boas. One after another was tossed over his shoulders and into his lap until he looked like a multicolored big bird. Co accepted the assignment with only a moderate amount of complaining. When the supplies were completely unpacked, Terry surveyed the collection of plates, napkins, utensils, plastic cups, and such. She announced that she'd handle the snack and drink arrangements. She delegated you, Baxter, and Co to do everything else with the room. After his salute, Terry left the circle and headed to her station. From under his cloak of feathers, Go got busy snapping off tags and removing casings. You and Baxter followed his lead. Empty bags were repurposed for holding trash. Peacefully and productively, your little team worked away on its different tasks, until a grunt of frustration echoed through the air. You glanced towards the opposite side of the room. Terry was shaking the chocolate fountain like she was trying to get a prize to fall out of it. Technical difficulties? Baxter said the obvious. Everyone in the room was aware of Terry's struggles. Not to worry, I have a bit of experience with those beasts. I should be able to offer assistance. He announced his intentions as he got up. There wasn't much left that had packaging, and he wanted to make sure everything was alright, so he decided to go see Terry, too. Co was left to hold down the fort. He shrugged and one of the boas slipped down his back. Across the floor together, and with a wave, Baxter spoke out to the woman hunched over a table. Hello. Terry sprung up at the sound. Her face was despairing as she skipped right past the greeting. How do you use this thing? You add the chocolate and it's supposed to go, right? 'Cause it's not going. Baxter pursed his lip and cocked her head, considering. Basically, yes. You add the melted chocolate into the machine and turn it on. It takes a minute, but should start to flow. We can troubleshoot. Wait, the melted chocolate? She released her clutch on the fountain. Doesn't it melt when you put it in? A pinch of frustration made Baxter wince. It was only momentary. Then he was smiling placatingly. He had to deliver bad news as pleasantly as possible. To use a chocolate fountain, the chocolate must be melted ahead of time. It won't cook in the machine. Those novelties aren't that sophisticated.
What?
I didn't know that. I didn't know that you didn't know that. I should have asked. I should have known. I should have been the one to set it up in the first place. Baxter's regrets grew and grew.
Forgive me.
He's never used one before, and I have. Both of them dropped their faces with a sigh, though the dramatics of their actions were on entirely different levels. Baxter's dejection was subtle, restraining, and meanwhile Terry couldn't have exaggerated her misery more. After Baxter used his own money to get it, and all the trouble he went to finding trees that could be used in it, the fountain ended up a useless metal tower. Has to be some way to make that thing work. You are absolutely right. Baxter straightened himself up. Like an actual professional, he viewed the situation from an objective distance, could give perspective to the more emotionally attached Terry. It's not too late quite yet. This is a temporary hitch. I will take the chocolate somewhere it can be melted and come back. I'll need some way to keep it warm during the trip.
Well,
Perhaps a thermos would work? Would you be able to find a thermos and melt chocolate before the party starts? He chuckled, the hand over his mouth. That is highly unlikely, but all you need to do is enjoy other parts of the event first. Dance, drink, eat one of the lovely cupcakes. Then he flicked his wrist, gesturing away from his face. I'll return at some point during the evening, and the fountain will go up then. We can even act as if it was intentional to bring it out later.
very well.
Ideally, the fountain can accompany the serving of the cake. No one has to know it's a problem factor. They've missed so much of the party. He flashed a bold smile. I wasn't invited to this party. My intention was to leave when it started, regardless. He what? It was as if the floor dropped out from under you. Baxter had worked as hard as anyone else to make this party happen. He pulled an all-nighter for it. The fact that he wasn't one of the guests was almost unbelievable. He glanced at Terry. She was frowning.
Sorry.
The whole thing was a surprise. I never told Randy he was helping throw her a party. She has no idea Baxter's here, and she's shy if she doesn't know somebody well. None of that was news to him. He was as unruffled as ever. Exactly. This is her birthday. It isn't her responsibility to post a near stranger because he elected to involve himself in the planning side of things. Baxter was being reasonable and mature, but that only made Terry feel worse. Her frown had deepened into a grimace. She piled job after job on his shoulders because he was just another part of the group in her mind. Now she'd realized too late that he wasn't, and never had been. we just tell Miranda you're the party planner? Then you can stay even if you aren't technically a guest.
No.
I do appreciate the thought, however, I must decline. I've had a great deal of fun. There's no need to include me further. And in fact, I prefer to lead the party. I want the event we worked hard on to be as good as it can be. I won't be thwarted by a chocolate fountain, and I won't make the atmosphere awkward by being present after. All I ask is that you enjoy the time we have together and enjoy the time when I'm not there. This still didn't sit right with you. Not at all. But what could you do? Oh, Baxter! You couldn't decide for Miranda or for him whether Baxter attended or not. Terry accepted it in the end, too. Okay, I get it. Thanks. Bye, Baxter.
Take care.
With that, he sauntered out of the room, a bag of unmelted chocolate in his hand and a smile on his face. And so the reason for him taking his own car is revealed. In time, with the shutting of the door, Terry smacked her palm against the table definitively. This is going to be the best party I've ever done, no matter what, because it's going to be the only party I'll ever throw. Never again. Next time somebody else is going to have to be in charge. I'll just help. I thought this was a team effort, you joked. It is, but it had to be somebody else's idea. For the first and last time, it was mine. I guess. Come on, Jules. He's not going to let us down, and we can't stop either. Let's finish this. Turned around only to come face to face with the fluffy Cove. He buried himself further in the feather boas, began fiddling with the balloon he must have inflated. Right, Cove was left to wait alone the entire time. He stared awkwardly, as did Terry.
What's wrong?
Is everything alright? We can only hope, Cove. We can only hope. Okay? Cove lifted at that. Not anymore, informed or assured. And so the decorating continued with one less person. More balloons were blown up in place about, streamers were strung up, and we even moved a bench from a corner to the center stage. It would act as a makeshift throne for the queen of the day. Finally, all the trash bags were carted out of the event space and tossed into a dumpster outside. The three of you returned and stood in the center of the now cleared dance floor to admire your handiwork. Wall to wall, floor to ceiling, the room gleamed. Oh, that's so cool.
Neat.
It looks good. It does. It actually does. Terry was beaming wider than you'd ever seen. After a day and a half of almost non-stop preparations, you pulled off something, pretty great. It was certainly a homemade arrangement by a group of friends at the last minute, but that was half of the charm. Your efforts were easy to see. You sat in a row along the edge of the stage, resting, waiting before the big event. No one talked. Code tapped his foot. Until finally, Terry's phone went off. She read the message fervently. She murmured in haste. It's from Jude. The guests are arriving. I repeat, the guests are arriving. Jude is Miranda's brother, if I remember correctly.
All right.
Miranda, her siblings, her parents, aunts, uncles, cousins, friends, and other people, they're going to be in this room any minute. Be ready. Terry shot from the back of the room to the front in a matter of seconds. She had the music on. So there you go. A better shot of the of everything. So there's all the plastic champagne glasses. There's the balloons. I think these are added too. I don't remember there being lights. Happy birthday! She then strung a few bags along her arms. Those ones hadn't been used for trash. Cove put the accessories in them for safekeeping after he was done wearing all the bows himself, of course. With that hanging over her, Terry stood in wait at the entrance. You and Cove joined her. Noises could be heard on the other side. Cove's hands clenched. Terry clasped onto his shirt like she was about to meet her maker. Then the door slowly began to open. On the other side, a small crowd was huddled together. At the head of it was Miranda herself. Oh my gosh! The dazzling pink party room was reflected in Miranda's big sparkling eyes. Terry threw her bag-laden arms into the air. None of them fell off, fortunately. Surprise! 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 As spoken, Miranda was overcome with surprise. Terry and Jules and Cove?
Yeah.
That's right. What do you think of your party this year? Terry queried her friend eagerly, though the quickness of the question was partially motivated by a discreet anxiety. Miranda blinked and she knew. Her family weren't the ones who put on this event. She answered with wholehearted appreciation. I love it. It's amazing. Way nicer than I ever would have thought. And we surprised you? You really didn't know what we were up to? You're not just being nice?
You're really nice.
You definitely got me. I didn't think this much would happen. Especially since it's not my 18th birthday or 21st or anything like that. It's only 19. What? All your birthdays are a big deal. Randy giggled at Terry's assertion. While her eyes were closed, you and Terry shared a look. This party was more important than Miranda realized. Thanks a ton. This is exactly what I wanted, and I didn't even know it. Cole let out a relieved breath. Terry pumped a fist victoriously in the bag she was holding flung around. Miranda's secret birthday bash was a hit. More and more guests gathered and wandered about. They openly admired the room. Terry nodded, pleased.
Woo!
It's party time. Let's use the stuff we got. She dumped the contents of each sack on an empty end of a table for everyone to access. A bunch of sunglasses clattered out with the boas. On top of the pile was the white one. Terry stashed that back in a bag and threw it under the tablecloth. You mentally gave her your thanks for the save. Even if Baxter wasn't planning to use it, it was still for him. Miranda gave a clap. It was one delight after another today. Terry sported sunglasses and a purple feather boa. Coach just went for a pair of sunglasses. He'd had enough of wearing those boas already. This is great. Or maybe it wasn't any fun when he was only allowed to take one. He managed to fit them over his regular glasses. Miranda got her own oversized shades, but instead of a boa, she was granted a special birthday girl sash to set her apart from all the other attendees. It's so cute! We're gonna go full ham. It made you feel like the glamorous Ziva from the interactive play. Well, the person who was with you then could be here now. Nice, nice. All decked out for the party, Terry directed Miranda's attention to what else was on the table. She was charmed anew when she saw the waiting rows of fake champagne and outright stunned when her eyes landed on the display of glittery cupcakes.
So great.
They're so pretty! Did you buy those?
Nope.
They're homemade. Really? They look like they're from a pro bakery. Thank you. Can I have one now, or are we waiting until it's time for cake? Miranda, it's your birthday. You can decide. She beamed. It was time for the queen to make her decree.
Fun.
Then I declare that we can all eat cupcakes right now. What a gracious hostess.
Sounds good.
Works for me. In unison, the three of them reached out for a treat. We're just gonna take one. And bit into it right away. The fluffy cake and creamy frosting were delicious, and all the sweeter knowing how much work had gone into it. Terry licked the shiny frosting first. That was most intriguing to her. Miranda broke the bottom of the cake off and stuck it into frosting to make a cupcake sandwich before she took a bite. She's seen it in a video one time and done it since. Cope crammed half the dessert into his mouth at once, so that sounds about right. They each had their own unique way of enjoying their confection, but enjoy it they did. It's too bad Baxter wasn't there to see the results of your shared labor. You'd have to at least let him know all the trouble wasn't in vain. While the snacking occurred, you caught sight of Jude in the crowd of guests. He tied a blue bow around his forehead. The feathers hung down and partially covered his eyes. But his bangs were so long his view was always partially obstructed, so it didn't make that much difference. Miranda's mom, dad, and her two older sisters were going around the room taking pictures and videos. Whenever the cameras ended up pointing in their general direction, Terry and Miranda posed like superstars. Seeing the entire Eckert family enjoy themselves really made the effort worth the while. The cupcakes were finished and crumbs were wiped away, then hand in hand Terry and Miranda hit the dance floor. Cope's hand, meanwhile, hovered over the platter of cupcakes. He considered taking another, closed his fingers into a fist. He resisted the temptation. He jerked his head in the direction of your friends, encouraging you to come with. Cope left the snack table to toe the edge of the lit-up floor. He didn't go an inch past that border. Clapping and calling out to Miranda and Terry was as much partying as he was capable of. We're gonna stick with Cope. We haven't spent much time with him. He smiled over at you when it became obvious you weren't going anywhere. It was nice the way your group could neatly split in half and still have fun. More and more guests crowded onto the bright lights at the center, like moths to a flame. Terry whipped and twirled her boa, and Miranda's sunglasses kept almost flying off her face with the quick-footed moves she was pulling. After a couple songs, Terry dragged Miranda to the front so she could sit in the throne you'd prepared for her. Time for a cheer! Being the center of attention normally embarrassed Randy, but today she could ignore those inclinations. Wait there, Randy. Cope, help me get the drinks around. She searched for you along the outskirts of the room and winked when your eyes met. You've got to make up for not helping at all yesterday. Fine. They got to it pouring and then passing drinks around the room. Cove offered one from the first batch to you. The grim-faced lady saw what was going on and silently helped give out the glasses of fake champagne. She knew the drill without being told. You recognized the woman from prior Miranda bashes. It was nice seeing her again, even though you'd barely said 2 words to each other in all these years of attending the same birthdays. Thanks to the efforts of those 3, most people had a cup ready to go. At the front stage, Terry passed the guest of honor a glass too. It was time. To the B-Day, girl! Happy birthday, Miranda! Dozens of sparkling drinks glimmered under the shining lights as they were raised in a toast. People drank and clinked glasses with whoever they were rubbing elbows with. He tapped Cove's cup. He smacked your glass with his in tandem, overcome by the excitement permeating the room. It spilled a little. Oops. Good thing those cups weren't actually glass. We'll take a sip. It was intensely sugary and bubbles pleasantly tickled your throat. It was as if the entire essence of the party, the thrills and the sweetness, had been distilled into a drink. With a half-full plastic champagne glass, Miranda leaped from her seat off the stage and landed in the crowd on the dance floor. That got a second round of cheering. Terry followed right after and the celebrating resumed in full force. Cove still didn't quite dance himself, but he did bop his head to the music and tap a foot. You swayed along with the music, watching the festivities. Like the cupcakes, you all relished the moment in your own ways. That afternoon was the party to end all parties, for better or worse. The music inside her flowed without stopping until... Yo, Randy! Miranda's big brother slipped through the few cracks in the wall of dancers until he reached the heart of the floor. Food's here. It's cake time.
Woo!
Yay! Miranda gave a final grateful twirl on her tiptoes. The birthday sash fluttered. Terry waved at you and Cove.
Oh yeah!
Let's eat! The gang reunited back at the refreshment tables. And there, along with Miranda's parents setting out the sandwich platters for lunch, was another figure, a distinctly monochrome figure. There he is! He acted entirely at ease behind the table, busy doing a final check over a chocolate fountain. It slipped on, and slowly, liquefied chocolate began to trickle out. Baxter did it! Is that Baxter? Miranda peered closer. She'd come face to face with an unexpected acquaintance in a gathering of the people she knew best. Yep, he was here before, too. Oh, why is he setting up a chocolate fountain for my birthday party? Terry's hands went to her hips and she came out with the whole story. B-Man was a crucial member of the secret planning party group who made this whole thing happen.
Really?
Miranda had to look back and forth between Baxter and Terry at a loss. Baxter's nice, and I think he can't stand to see an event fail spectacularly or something, but for whatever reason, he wanted to help out. He took us to the store to get the supplies, made cupcakes, put up decorations, did just about everything for that chocolate fountain. It almost had to be nixed like 3 times. Baxter kept his professionally polite demeanor the entire conversation, despite the fact that he had to have heard what they were talking about. Feigning innocence, he came around to the other side of the table to properly greet the guests of honor.
Hello.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Thank you. She barely knew what to say after finding out exactly how much he contributed. But her gaze dropped as she tugged at the sash self-consciously. A minute before, she was the life of the party, embracing the cheesy glitz with gusto, but in front of him, she felt childish. It was everything he expected and wanted to avoid coming to pass. Baxter gave a considerate smile. You should be able to manage the fountain now that it's running. I hope the rest of the party will be a lovely time. You're leaving already? Her question was barely a peep. She had to muster all her confidence to say that much.
Yeah.
My job is done. I was here only for that. You forced yourself to keep an even face in front of Randy. You knew it was coming. But you still didn't like it. But, well, she released her hold on the accessory and looked into Baxter's face directly. It was really thoughtful of you to do all this. You should stay and enjoy the party, too. You are a gracious host. His words held sincere appreciation at the welcome extended, enough to get your hopes up. But I can't do that. I knew he would say no. Baxter! No! The rejection was equally amiable. That didn't make it less disappointing. You don't owe me anything, certainly not a place among your real friends at your birthday party. There's no reason to feel guilty. Now, if you'll excuse me, take care. With a kindly wave that left no room for further arguments, Baxter breezed past your group. That was it. He was gone. Terry's shoulders hung low. She'd been able to have fun when Randy arrived, but the fresh reminder of what happened made all the regrets resurface. Cove could only silently rub the scar on his left arm, and worst of all, Randy's cheer hadn't returned after Baxter's vanishing act was completed. He'd earnestly wished for her to be happy, but it was understandably hard to get into the celebratory spirit after that kind of revelation. It shouldn't have to end like that. It didn't have to end like that. You wouldn't let it end like that. If Baxter wasn't going to be at Miranda's birthday, it had to be something else he could be a part of. He mentally grappled with the problem and cast her eyes about, trying to grasp any hint of an idea. Then something Terry said earlier came back to you. Terry? All three of the others glanced your way. It was the first crack in the awkward silence, and that was enough for Cove and Miranda to also take an interest. Yeah? Could you do me a favor?
Yeah.
Are you kidding? I owe you my life for making sure this wasn't a disaster. I'll help you out with whatever you want.
Me too.
I'll help too if there's something I can do. Thanks. Miranda's birthday will be going for just a couple more hours. It'll be done way before the place closes, and Terry said we've got the room for the entire day. So tonight, after all the other guests are gone, let's use this venue for an after party. No, a totally different party. Another party? He tilted his head incredulously. Yeah, another party, not a birthday. It could be our very own party planner appreciation party. And it could just be for just our group. Me, Randy, Terry, Cove, and Baxter. We could try to set aside some of the food and drinks for later to clean up the mess when everyone has left, and we'll have slow music at this event. You know how much he wanted to dance, and I'd do that with him. One of these two. Let's go with Great Dancer. Yeah! The first to affirm the idea was the one originally most trepidatious about Baxter being there, but she answered with confidence.
Let's do it.
I'll be a member of the secret planning party committee for this surprise. If he can do it for me, I can do it for him. And maybe Terry was right. We could all use more friends. Cove did not look convinced by that at all, but convinced of all that, though he couldn't disagree with the main suggestion. Okay. A wide grin pulled at Terry's face, seeing this new plan forming. We should catch him before he's gone. He might not get the message if he escapes now. Good idea. Thanks, everyone. He rushed through the guests, coming in on all sides, clamoring for their lunch. Bursting out of the party room was like waking from a dream. The pink extravaganza was replaced by a plain white hallway, and the only sounds were your own footsteps echoing off the linoleum floors. You'd been able to forget the normal world for a while, but had been there the entire time, going on as usual on the other side of the door. But Baxter wasn't there either. He kept going through the lobby and into the parking lot. His hair might have fit in with black tarmac and white painted lines, but the camouflage couldn't fool you. He was at the end of the row, moments away from getting into his car. Baxter! He turned around at the sound of your voice. Pushing yourself further, you shot down the wide open space.
I swear.
Jules, did something happen? Wait, please tell me it is not the chocolate fountain again. Your gait had slowed immensely in the final feet, and you came to a stumbling stop in front of Baxter. He waited patiently for an answer. Nothing is wrong. Well, that's a relief. You could have told me, however. You shouldn't be running out of the building if there are no issues. Go enjoy the damn fountain. Baxter's grin was teasing and harmless, so you didn't miss a layer of genuine frustration at the stupid machine after all the trouble it had caused. He smoothed his face and shirt out in fluid motions. I'll be fine. Perhaps I'll take a nap, I'm going back. I just have to ask you something first.
I see.
I'm all ears. Okay, so I know you've already done a lot for this party and us, but if you're not too exhausted, could you come here again tonight, around 7 p.m.? Baxter's almost unshakable smile was lost to suspicion. Not good. This was a surprise you were planning. You threw out the first cover that popped into your head before he could speak the obvious question on the tip of his tongue. I just don't know what I'd do without you for that long. Night, we'll go with that. We need help cleaning up after the party. A razor-sharp smirk crossed his face. That gaze cut right through you. Even more not good. But he wasn't there when Terry mentioned how long you'd have the room. Baxter might know something was up, but you assured yourself you couldn't guess exactly what. You stood your ground.
Certainly.
I'll be here at 7 on the dot. Quick kiss. Your lips brushed against his face in a tiny peck. It was only for a second, but his warmth lingered even after, and so did the sparkle in his dark eyes. Thanks. I'll see you soon.
It's settled.
Yes, you will. Baxter parted from you yet again, but as you saw him off, you felt good about it. this time him leaving didn't mean he was simply gone. It meant you'd have time to prepare for his return. You found your way to the party room just in time to sing happy birthday. Flying alongside the rest of the group, you acted as if you'd never left. Cove chuckled and quietly welcomed you back. Terry's confetti cake was placed in front of Randy at the head of the table. The 19 candle you picked up from the store yesterday was lit by her dad. When she blew it out, the room filled with cheers. Her friends and family ate sandwiches, salad, and cake. The chocolate fountain was a huge hit, too. Thank goodness. Miranda, Cove, Terry, and yourself each squirreled away a plate of extra desserts and snacks for the secret party. Soon guests got a second win, and more dancing commenced. Though you and your friends took it easy on the sidelines instead. Every single one of you could enjoy yourself to the fullest now, and you did for the final couple of hours of the party. When it got closer to dinner time, guests began to trickle out little by little. Many of them came by to hug Miranda and wish her the best once more. That was how Miranda's 19th birthday concluded and how the preparation for the Party Planner Appreciation Party began. You informed the team on when Baxter would be arriving and how they couldn't dally. The four of you, plus Miranda's parents and siblings, cleaned up trash and took down the decorations that indicated a birthday was going on. One of the tables and the sound system was left in place for the Party Planner Appreciation Party. Why did I pick that? You also recovered the white boa from under the table where Terry hid it earlier. It was still in pristine condition. Perfect. At 6:50, Miranda kindly used the last of her birthday girl power to ask her family to get out of there so her friends could have their own party. The Eckert clan accepted being kicked to the curb and graciously made themselves scarce. Jude held up a peace sign as he shut the door behind himself and the rest of the folks taking their leave. At 6:55, you double-checked the dance floor for any debris. It was spotless. At 6:58, you wandered about the room trying to pick out the best place to stand and wait. Terry teasingly wondered aloud if that's what she looked like before Randy arrived. It's not it's an interesting comparison. But it fits. It was. At exactly 7, the door cracked open. Excuse me, may I come in? Unsure of what he was walking into, Baxter paused at the precipice. Yeah, we've been waiting. That was all the encouragement needed. Baxter came into the party room. He smiled graciously at the cluster of people silently standing ahead of him. Cove leaned over, stiffly like a balloon slowly deflated. He whispered awkwardly into your ear. What are we supposed to say now? Are we shouting surprise for this? Surprise! 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 Yeah, surprise. The unexpected, not to mention delayed, exclamation at his entrance gave Baxter a start.
Welcome.
How good of you to come, Baxter. With the way Terry rubbed her hands together and the vague sense of satisfaction in her tone, she was giving the impression of falling into a nefarious trap. Now the guests have finally arrived, we can begin.
What?
What do you mean? I should think the guests have left by this point. Baxter had a generously low level of confusion at the strangeness, merely raising his eyebrow rather than making a hasty retreat. Even though Baxter would probably be the last person you knew who'd be scared off by villainous shenanigans, he decided to avoid any potential misunderstandings. We've been waiting to start the Party Planner Appreciation Party. A Party Planner Appreciation Party, you say? You got it. This event is Miranda's birthday no more. She dramatically crossed her arms over the other and plugged them outwards as if swearing off the entire concept of a birthday. Terry had to rent this room for the entire day, even though we only needed it until the middle of the afternoon. So we decided to use the last few hours we had here to have another party, one that's for the group of us, so you are invited. You parted from the bunch to position yourself right in front of the son, Baxter. He didn't flinch as he draped the white feather boa over his shoulders. Yay! Baxter's mouth opened wordlessly as he stared directly at your face. He tentatively lifted up a hand, brushing his fingers against the feathers surrounding him, had to check that it was truly there. Then, with his eyes still wide, a delighted grin grew across Baxter's face.
To be honest,
I must admit, I assumed you were scheming something, but I absolutely did not think it'd be this. I never should have doubted your abilities to throw a surprise party. Terry, Randy, and Cope crowded around the two of you to reform the group with the newest member. Didn't I tell you the best way to have something be a real surprise is if you do it all at the last second so no one even has a chance to put it together?
you're very good.
Yes, you did. I suppose there are some advantages to the strategy after all. And so the Party Planner Appreciation Party commenced. You hung around the almost barren snack table. It was the only piece of furniture left behind from Randy's party. There weren't even chairs. Mostly. Miranda had joked that Baxter could take the throne now if he wanted to. That part came with the room. He courteously declined. Of course he did. It's Baxter. Okay, so these lights were already there. Were they? Gosh, I don't remember now. Dinner was simple, more sandwiches and salad. It was also a mostly quiet meal, but that's exactly what was needed. At 7 a.m. that morning, you left to prepare for Miranda's birthday. 12 hours later, you were still there. Lazily enjoying one another's company after an extremely long day couldn't be overappreciated. Cobb wiped crumbs from his mouth after he was done eating and addressed Baxter without being spoken to first for a change. There's dessert for you, too. A slice of the cake and one of the cupcakes. Thank you. I'd like to try the cake Terry made, but I've had quite enough of the cupcakes. Fair enough. He is well acquainted with the confections, even if he'd never taken a single bite. Then can I have it?
Absolutely.
Please do. Of course, goes like, yes, more for me. Don't forget the chocolate fountain. Terry jumped in with another sampling suggestion. That contraption was Baxter's second, arguably more formidable enemy of the event. It's still going strong. You've got to try it. However, he chuckled. All right, if you insist. For all the trouble it caused, the fountain had indeed kept flowing even as the night went on and dozens of treats passed through it. That was the only part of the equation that was in good shape, however. The pot of goodies alongside it had become a plate of baddies. What remained was some snaps, pretzel fractions, scraps of fruit, and most of the full-size granola bars. Cookies and marshmallows had, to the shock of no one, been more popular choices. Those were gone long before the first party had even finished. Not one to complain, Baxter plucked up a granola bar and slipped one end into the rippling sheet of liquid chocolate that he'd melted himself. Cove, meanwhile, wasn't going to sell for that, despite being the one who brought them. He tore off a piece of his second cupcake of the night and stuck that into the fountain. His fingers got coated as well. Baxter languidly watched Cove make a careless mess. You know, food that crumbly will get into the chocolate and... never mind. Smirking, Baxter removed his bar from the fountain and flipped around. He leaned his backside against the edge of the table.
Honestly.
What does it matter if the chocolate clumps? I wouldn't care if the fountain broke at this point. The point was punctuated with a satisfied bite into the chocolate-covered granola bar. It's good. No matter how definitively he made this statement, it was hard to tell if he was being serious or not. What are the pretzel pieces? The chunks were so tiny it was a struggle to get any chocolate on them without plunging your whole hand in. Sure, it wasn't ideal, but it was fun. When the slim pickings became non-existent pickings, even the most daring among you had to call it quits on the fountain. Terry used the final chance to fulfill her most base urge, sticking her tongue directly into the stream of chocolate. Miranda giggled and squirmed at how wrong it was. Terry gave a thumbs up. Putting your body parts into that contraction was recommended, apparently.
All right.
Terry cleaned herself off before making a new announcement. This isn't a birthday celebration, so you know what that means? It's not weird to have slow dancing as our main event.
Huh?
Pardon me? Dancing? This party of 5 is going to have slow dancing? Baxter questioned what he was hearing. Not in a fun, this is too good to be true way, but in a tone that was almost accusatory, like he'd gotten him in a trap after all. I'm beginning to getting the impression that this impromptu event is less for the entire group and more for me specifically. Once again, the group became divided between the 4 of you together and the one outsider, and as always, it was self-imposed. Baxter's arms folded as his gaze wandered over each of the faces around him. He was searching for a reason. He wanted to know Baxter's motivation for his own behavior. Well, it is called the Party Planner Appreciation Party. I wasn't the one who made the party. He countered immediately, defensively. You and Terry had bigger roles than I did. The chilly reception didn't hamper Terry whatsoever. Perhaps she took him up for being shy in the spotlight. She wandered away and hit the music, setting it to a lovely tune with a gentle pace. A nice enough song could smooth out any of the bumps. Baxter remained defiant, waiting motionlessly for a response to what he said. He couldn't and wouldn't accept the situation. Under that kind of pressure, Miranda glanced at the floor, and Cove sheepishly turned from Baxter to look at you for guidance. I see. That was enough of a hint for all to be clear. You were the planner for this party. Of course that's how it happened, was what you read in his expression. Baxter no longer traded stares among the crowd. He didn't see anyone else in the room except for you. I couldn't just leave you out. He took in a breath through his nose and curled his ringed fingers into a fist. You'd have to take the initiative this time. For the second time that night, you approached Baxter. Then you offered him your hand. Want to dance? crease in his brows cracked Baxter's hardened expression. It was frustrating and wonderful to him, and you had your suspicions on why he struggled with the gesture. Delicately, as though without another word, he accepted. For the moment, Baxter could let go of his concerns by holding on to you. Hand in hand, you walked into the center of the lit-up floor. The room was so quiet you could make out bits of the conversation the others were having. Terry offered to dance with either Randy or Cove. Both of them refused with varying degrees of nervousness. Terry could only laugh. She knew it was coming. Out of the normal group, you might have been bold enough to do that with her, but you already had a partner. But that meant you had the whole space to yourselves. At first, you could only prop Baxter into swaying in place. With time and encouragement, the dance moved onward until Baxter swept around the room with you like the pro he was. You flowed along with his steps effortlessly. But when the song ended, the enchantment both of you were under vanished. Baxter settled himself enough to speak to you.
Well,
So, he murmured pleasantries a hair's breadth away from your face. Was the birthday party a success? Everyone had a great time, especially Miranda. Baxter's lips quirked. It must have been a relief to know for certain that nothing fell apart once he made his retreat. I'm sorry you couldn't be there. You are incredibly considerate, but this is more than worth the trouble. His eyes closed and placed one foot back, only for a second. He thought better of that and brought it back in line with his other leg. I'm not lying when I say this is one of the grandest occasions I've attended. Confessed by a man wearing a $2 feather boa and standing in the final remnants of a birthday party thrown together in 2 days. That scene had to be a far cry from the formal events you were certain he'd attended throughout his life before coming to Sunset Bird. Yet you didn't doubt the earnestness of his words for a second.
you're...
I apologize if I did not give the impression initially. I hate to be a bother, and you went to so much trouble. You'd nearly forgotten that you hadn't let go of each other after the dance, until Baxter's grip around your hand tightened. It doesn't matter now. The effort is sincerely appreciated. In a way, Terry had been right. Even Baxter Ward could be bashful in certain regards. That was okay. You were just glad he enjoyed himself in the end. Still gonna kiss him. You were sleepy and relieved and could finally just be happy with your charming suitor. He accepted the affection rarely this time, pressing into you sweetly.
Thank you.
For inviting me to your party, Jules. His eyes were still dancing even if his feet had stopped, but his words carried the weight of finality with them. There was a joy he found in the fleetingness of it all. Just like this might be your last birthday party with Terry, Miranda, and Cove, it could very well be the first and final time for Baxter too. He'd accepted that as a certainty. Baxter was always so ready to leave, with parties and the town on the whole. He treated everything that came his way as temporary, to merely be embraced while he could, and then to freely release. Even though you knew that, even if he'd never done anything differently, you hoped he would keep having a reason to return as long as you reached out to him. Whew. Okay, that's it. That definitely took longer than I thought it would, but, it was the last of the DLC, so when we get back to this, which will probably be in 2 weeks, we will be doing the Baxter epilogue, but that gives me time to play this part. Let's see, back to the menu. So, gallery. Okay, so this is from the Cove epilogue. You're celebrating your mom's anniversary. This is your older sister Liz and your cousin Lee. And this is Derek. He's the elder romance option if you don't romance Cove. You spend time with him during the second step. I need to double check how unlock these ones. But yeah, my voice is going. I need to go get some water, which I didn't get before I started. So thank you everyone for joining me. It was great to have people to talk to. I'll be back hopefully Wednesday with Mass Effect. And then next week I'll be playing Andromeda 6, the new episode, because it'll be released then. Yes, Alongside Lucy. I'm a little surprised that there wasn't a picture for... Are these... These can't all be from the epilogue. I feel like I missed one somehow. I'll have to look up how to unlock it. But for now, take care, everyone, and I will upload this to YouTube. And if you're watching this there, please like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. I will include, of course, links to buy the DLC in the description, which I usually do for whatever games I'm playing. Obviously, with Mass Effect, I don't need to. It's pretty obvious how you can get it. So, yeah, have a great time and a good summer. Bye.